There's no further punishment, but a lot of these people end up finding themselves in a difficult position in a foreign land, battling to come back to South Africa. You can weigh in on that as well. One of the conversations we'll welcome your inputs on. You will have seen a News 24 report identifying a 22-year-old Johannesburg man that it says has been active in combat in Gaza as a member of an elite sniper unit in the Israeli Defense Force. We'll be focusing on what the law says around so-called mercenary activities, foreign military assistance. My guest coming up within the next few minutes, actually at about 6:20, is an expert in this area and will talk to us about what does the law provide for. We are told there's a history of South African citizens of Jewish descent fighting in Israel, fighting in the Israeli Defense Force. In fact, so much so that the former Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Naledi Pandor, felt it necessary to flag this issue, and that those who do go and fight within the Middle East conflict will be contravening South African laws. So we'll delve into that situation, and that conversation is coming up at about 6:20, as I told you. Of course, we have all of your regulars lined up for you, and Musa with news updates every half hour. We have Rob Byrne with your traffic updates every 15 minutes or so. Zaikan is watching your sport throughout the morning. Dowling Lechela has your economics, business and market news covered. Sipho Mantula with your Africa update, always fascinating, and that's coming up just before 8 a.m. Of course, with all of these conversations and other stories that are exercising your mind, we'll be taking your calls. The number to dial for that is 086 000 2032. You can also send us a WhatsApp voice note and we'll take those and interact with them. The number to dial for that, the number for that is 061 410 4107. This is SAFM, Conversations That Move Us. The Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said, "Grrr."
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the reed dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, "Baye!"
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
The Daily News Diary on SAFM.
Let's turn to Ann Musa for that. Good morning to you, Ann. I watched that speech by the ANC president last night, and I see that you are leading with it. That event that had people intrigued, whether it was a celebration or a moment of reflection, as the ANC framed it.
Good morning, Thulas. Yes, indeed. It is, well over the 100 days. And last night, the ANC president reflecting on the first 100 days since the formation of the Government of National Unity. So we do do have analysis and reaction on the progress made as reviewed by the ANC and termed as reflection and not a celebration. The ANC president saying that the Government of National Unity's success should be evaluated based on its tangible impact on the lives of South Africa's poor and working class citizens rather than political affiliations. We're also looking at the South African Weather Service's warnings of severe thunderstorms as well as a heat wave to hit parts of South Africa. And in Gauteng, the Education Department giving the go-ahead for the 2024 matric exams. The MEC Matome Chilwane yesterday gave an update on the province's readiness, and with less than 6 days remaining before the start of the examinations, the Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Gwagube, says that she's confident that the about 45,000 matric candidates in the Northwest will do well, and the minister embarked on a listening and learning tour yesterday. In the Eastern Cape, the court appearance of the man accused of involvement in the killing of 18 people at Thulasizwe last month, and the 45-year-old was out on parole for murder. He was arrested last week and made a brief appearance in court and will be appearing for a formal bail application. Staying in the Eastern Cape, the court case of the Eastern Cape Health Department's Chief of Communications Unit, Sizwe Kupelo, resumes after he was freed on bail of about 30,000 rand, and he allegedly presented a forged matric certificate to secure employment as the communications liaison officer in 2001 and 2002. And the 3 suspects linked to the Renosterburg municipality also expected back in the local court, and this is to face charges of fraud over the 73.5 million rand workers' pensions that were never paid to the fund administrators and municipal workers who wanted to take advantage of the two-pot system are now frustrated. Pension monies were never paid to the fund's administrators and the Municipal Workers Retirement Fund and LA Retirement Fund. And also lastly, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts will receive an update from the National Skills Fund and the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, and this is regarding an investigation by the SIU on the two entities into issues of governance, irregular and wasteful expenditure, procurement irregularities, and issues with the direct payment mechanisms. Some of the stories that we are focusing on this morning.
So a busy day for you and the rest
Indeed.
of the news team, and I see that the courts are particularly busy. An important appearance in the Eastern Cape following that Thulasizwe mass killing.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
All right, Anne, we'll catch up with you a bit later on. That's Anne Musa there. She'll be updating you in the news every half hour here on the Morning Brief.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
So you will have heard among the stories that Anne flagged were these warnings that came from the South African Weather Service. Let's actually start with those and give you those warnings. There are 2 yellow. One is a yellow level 4 warning and the other is a yellow level 2 warning. The yellow level 4 warning says severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours, damaging winds, hail, and excessive lightning leading to flooding of roads, settlements, and low-lying areas, as well as damage to vehicles and structures such as homes, carports, etc., are expected over Gauteng, eastern parts of the Northwest Province, northeastern parts of the Free State, and the extreme southwestern parts of Limpopo. So take heed. The second one is a yellow level 2 warning, and it says wind and waves leading to difficulty in navigation at sea, as well as small vessels and personal watercrafts at risk of taking on water and capsizing in locality are expected between Hout Bay and Plettenberg Bay. Then we have a fire danger warning. It says extremely high fire danger conditions are expected in the central and southwestern parts of the Northern Cape, as well as the extreme northern parts of Limpopo. The rest of your weather looks like this then. Pretoria, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers with a minimum of 19 and a maximum of 30. Johannesburg, partly cloudy with scattered afternoon thunder showers, 18 to 28. Vereeniging is partly cloudy with scattered afternoon thunder showers, 17 to 28. Mbombela cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 14 to 17. Polokwane cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 18 to 21. Mahikeng will be partly cloudy with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers with a minimum of 22 and a maximum of 31. Bloemfontein is fine, becoming partly cloudy, 8 to 29. Kimberley, partly cloudy, 12 to 31. Cape Town will be fine. The wind is light and variable with a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 26. Gqeberha is partly cloudy with light morning rain. The wind in Gqeberha will be light easterly, becoming moderate to fresh in the afternoon with a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 20. East London will be partly cloudy with rain in the morning. The wind will be light southerly, becoming light to moderate southeasterly in the afternoon with a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 18. Durban will be cloudy at times with isolated showers and rain. The wind will be moderate to fresh southerly to southwesterly, becoming strong at times with a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 20. Finally, Pietermaritzburg will see morning fog, otherwise cloudy with isolated showers and rain with a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 19.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
This summer, we have extra large offers on Ford Ranger XL, XLT and Wildtrak from only $481,900 for a Ranger XL single cab 4x2. It's the extra large Ranger offer from only $481,900. Visit your nearest participating Ford dealer. Optional service plan included. While stocks last. T&Cs apply.
After an impressive run in their first 5 matches of the 2024-25 season, collecting 18 points each, both La Rochelle and Bordeaux-Bègles are pumped up with high energy and eagerness to elevate their winning mentality to the highest level. Witness the collision of two giants, the top 14 rugby contest between La Rochelle and Union Bordeaux-Bègles on Sunday, 20 October at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
All right, let's turn to this story now. You would have seen a News 24 report identifying a 22-year-old Johannesburg man that it says has been active in combat in Gaza as a member of an elite sniper unit in the Israeli Defense Force. While there is a history, we are told, of South African citizens of Jewish descent fighting for Israel, the number of those fighting for Israel in the current war on Gaza is unknown. For more on the implications, the legal implications of South Africans fighting for foreign armies, I'm joined by Michelle Nell, who is lecturer in criminal and military law and the law of armed conflict at the Faculty of Military Science at Stellenbosch University. Good morning to you, Michelle. I've got to thank you for your time this morning. Before we delve into what the law provides for and what it prohibits in as far as the military activities of South Africans go, just from your experience, this phenomenon of South Africans of Jewish descent fighting in the Israeli army, say, in between the lulls in terms of the fighting in the Middle East, is there something that is a trend that has been observed in your experience?
Historically, since we've had this very good relationship historically, South Africa, with Israel, this is something that has come up quite often. If you look at the news reports, especially after the Gaza conflict, it came very much into the limelight again. 2009, for example, the Palestinian Solidarity Alliance handed over the list of about 73 South Africans that have been fighting in the IDF. Requesting that the NPA actually institute prosecution against them because they're contravening our legislation. And at that particular stage, the NPA really declined to prosecute. There was another instance in 2014 that there was also a name handed over of a person who was allegedly also fighting for the IDF. So this is something that has been happening quite often. And it's just that more recently, because of the conflict in Gaza and South Africa's stance on this, that it's actually really come to the fore. But it's been happening quite often, yeah.
So legally, which is your area of expertise in terms of the military law and the law of armed conflict, I scanned through what the provisions are. It would seem that the law takes it so seriously because it's not only addressed in our constitution, it comes up as well in the regulation of Foreign Military Assistance Act, and then later on in the South African Citizenship Act. What is the overall, impact of that? What is the position? What is prohibited by our laws?
Well, there's actually quite a number of things that are prohibited because from South Africa's point of view, we are one of the very few countries that actually prohibit any foreign assistance. So unfortunately, what is defined as foreign assistance is not 100% clear, but there's a whole list of things that are actually mentioned there. So you're not talking about necessarily going to fight, but it's also any incitement, any recruitment, any medical assistance that is given. So it is quite wide. But what it basically boils down to is that the moment that we have a South African that either joins a foreign armed force or they render any assistance in that regard, they so participating under a foreign flag in this particular armed conflict, that they are liable if they are convicted on a fine or even imprisonment. And I think for me, what makes it quite interesting, especially now with the newest situation, where you have the allegation of this person from Joburg who's actually been identified, and the allegations are that he was involved in the shooting of innocent civilians. You are looking at things that are quite serious, and in my opinion, actually a little bit more serious than just foreign military assistance, because here you are going into the terrain of war crimes. And, we have the ICC Act, the implementation of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court Act of 2002, which actually provides for this legislative framework that ensure that South Africa conforms with its obligations in terms of the Rome Statute. So theoretically, what could happen is that this individual, because he's a South African citizen, we have jurisdiction over him. He can actually be prosecuted for war crimes if they have sufficient evidence and they can prove it in court. This is how serious it is becoming now.
So if we park what you just raised, which is an important point about how we domesticated the Rome Statute and made it law within our own, statute books, but just focus a little bit on the prohibition of South Africans participating in foreign conflicts and mercenary activities. What use is a law if it's not enforced? Do we have a history of vigorous prosecution of South Africans that actually violate this law?
No, not at all. The thing is, the efficacy of any legislation is very dependent on whether it's consistently enforced or not. Now, if you go and look at the situations, I mentioned the 73 names that were given to the NPA. They declined to prosecute the individual in 2014. We have no idea whether that prosecution goes ahead, went ahead in any case. If you do the research and you do the reading, it's really not clear whether South Africa is actually prosecuting those individuals. The cases that were made available basically just show that it never ended up in court, that it was a plea bargain, and they settled on a fine and maybe a suspended prison sentence. But it's also not made known to anybody. So at this stage, I don't think South Africa has any clear conviction in terms of that they've actually successfully prosecuted these individuals. So there's a lot of rhetoric going around that they can be prosecuted and it can be happening, but we really don't have any consistent information that the NPA actually acted against this at all. So it's not going to be effective.
Lastly, Michelle, and this may also fall within your areas of interest. We used to have what they used to call private military companies in South Africa, PMCs. They were quite notorious and involved in quite a number of conflicts on the African continent. Any idea of what the status is at the moment? Because much of it, of course, had to do with our history of, the conflicts that were playing themselves out during the anti-apartheid struggle and the enforcement of apartheid. Any idea whether those continue to be active, a proliferation, or have we reached a stage that, those who were active during those conflicts have retired or, by natural attrition cannot participate in conflicts these days?
Oh no, I think there's lots of money to be made in this environment. It's not going to end. So no, we have a lot of people involved in private military companies. But unfortunately, through the media, there's been a lot of negative publicity of private military companies because it's being equated to mercenary action, and it is not always mercenary action. So there's a lot of legitimate companies actually operating within this particular space. And I think something that we must maybe keep in mind, it is not that they are prohibited at all. It is just that the requirement is that if they do operate, they need to be registered and they need permission from the National Conventional Arms Control Committee. So it's not, if you have your legitimate company and they are registered, there's not a problem with this situation at all.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. Michelle Nell is lecturer in criminal and military law and the law of armed conflict at the Faculty of Military Science at Stellenbosch University. Let's check in now with Ann Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged South Africans not to judge the GNU on its political orientation, but on the work it has done to change their lives for the better. The suspect who allegedly stabbed to death 5 family members, including 2 girls aged 2 and 6 years old, in Bethany area at Bergville in KwaZulu-Natal is expected to appear today in court. The incident occurred at the weekend. And Google has signed a deal to use small nuclear reactors to generate vast amounts of energy needed for artificial intelligence. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still queuing on your way into Joburg from Heidelberg. This morning it's a truck that lost its load between Alberton Road and the Barry Moreira exit at Phosphorus. The roadway blocked and motorists just struggling to get up and get past and through the restrictions. Mike 1 already slow. Boyston's through the Empire Road had a breakdown in the wrong place. This is the N1 south before New Road. So traffic starting to push back towards the Brockfontein interchange. Durban side this morning, if you do that run up the Blundell Road from Chatsworth to Queens Road, very busy sort of link road if you like. The stop-go controls we saw there a few weeks ago. We're back yesterday, so just watch for some delays around the River Bridge area. Cape Town, a lot going on. Baden-Powell Drive closed now at Khayelitsha due to sand on the road near Monwabisi, and the other big closure with a big impact is near Coastal Park. So Baden-Powell closed again between Strandfontein Road and Muizenberg. That's put a lot of pressure in that Strandfontein area. Motorists coming along Baden-Powell or up on Spine Road running into really quite heavy traffic on both of those routes into a very heavily congested Strandfontein Road, where you then sort of go up through Lotus River and back around through Grassy Park on your diverge to give yourself time to get through the traffic and get through the longer trip to take. N1 outbound stays closed at Lower Church. The exit to Woodstock still not doable. You'll have to come out of town via sort of Woodstock, Newmarket and Albert Road, I guess, would be the options. Or if you miss that, go out to Marine Drive and then sort of get yourself turned around and come back in on the N1 inbound. Either way, it's quite disruptive. And the Huguenot Tunnel remains closed to high-sided vehicles due to strong winds. Motorists that fit that category with caravans or truck drivers being diverted up over the old pass road, the Toys Kloof Pass. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you, Zai. So I see that the Nigerian football team has had a bit of an experience in Libya. I must say this, it's very familiar, but it's a long story. I've had a similar experience traveling elsewhere.
So you, like the Super Eagles, were flying nowhere.
It was tough.
Not even slowly.
It was tough.
You were grounded.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Pretty much like they are.
Yeah.
You had to spend hours lying on the benches with dust coming in from the desert in the evening, and it It was very uncomfortable. But they're doing something about it, unlike me.
Yes, they're hoping that, CAF doesn't leave this up in the air for too long. Then how Nigeria had to wait at the airport. I mean, they waited way too long, 19 hours at Al Brak Airport. Now, the team was scheduled to land in Benghazi, but was diverted, leaving them stuck with no food or communication. Now, Nigeria's Football Federation officials claim it was part of a mind game tactic by Libyan authorities, although Libya denied these allegations, attributing the issue to air traffic control. CAF is now investigating the disruption. The Super Eagles, including stars like Ademola Lookman and Victor Boniface, have refused to play until the matter is resolved. Let's hear from Nigeria captain William Troost-Ekong.
We were really maltreated, and there was nobody from the FA that came to receive us. Nobody. We were just left with the security. In fact, it was when I saw that this situation was unbearable, we made arrangements to hire our own vehicles. We hired our own vehicles. They did not allow us to go out and join our vehicles.
Meanwhile, Cameroon booking their place at the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations courtesy of a 1-0 win over Kenya at the Mandela National Stadium yesterday, maintaining their unbeaten record in Group J of qualifying and to open up a 6-point gap to the third place Harambee Stars. Closer to home, Maruma Gallant's coach Dan Malesela has described their clash against Kaizer Chiefs in the Kufa Cup as having been the ideal preparation for the next few weeks. The Soweto Giants eventually clinched the exhibition match on penalties following a goalless draw at the Toyota Stadium in Bloemfontein. But Malesela was happy with his side's application ahead of facing Polokwane City in the Carling knockout this weekend.
Yeah, look, this couldn't have come at the right time, like I said. It couldn't have come at the right time. It's quite good that we played this match. It was quite opportune that we had the match of this type. A cup match before the real cup, the official cup match, So this was good for us in terms of our preparation.
And finally, cricket, New Zealand booking their place in the semi-finals of the Women's T20 World Cup with a 54-run win over Pakistan in Dubai. Pakistan needed to chase their target of 111 within 10.4 overs to keep themselves in knockout contention via the net run rate, but paid the price for their aggressive intent by slumping to 56 all out in 11.4 overs. That's your sport over for now. We'll bring you more top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
For that, let's bring in Dauleng Lechela. Good morning to you, Dauleng. Hey, listen, you must be careful what you say to me, all right? I'm still enjoying the relatively affordable fuel. So don't talk to me about OPEC and include the word cuts in it. Let's be clear. You're not talking about cutting oil supply. You are talking about them cutting their expectations, the outlook for oil demand.
That's right, Silas, and morning to you. Now, OPEC has revised its 2024 global oil demand growth forecast downward to 1.93 million barrels per day, a decrease from its previous estimate of 2 million barrels per day. This marks the third adjustment for this year, and really the first big significant adjustment since July 2023, ending a period of stability that lasted until August. Now, the main driver behind this downgrade is China, where OPEC has reduced its growth prediction from 650,000 barrels per day to 580,000 barrels per day. China's oil consumption faces significant headwinds from economic challenges and the transition to cleaner fuels. Now, this comes despite government stimulus measures expected to provide some relief or some support to oil demand in the fourth quarter. Now, OPEC's decision also comes amid falling prices, so they are trying to prop up those prices and reduce demand forecasts, posing a dilemma for OPEC and its allies. Forecasts vary widely among experts due to differing views on China in particular and its outlook and the pace of the world's transition to cleaner fuels. OPEC's estimates remain above the historical average of 1.4 million barrels per day, but it is higher than the International Energy Agency's projection. Overall, OPEC's revised forecast reflects the complexities of the global oil demand market, where economic uncertainties and shifting energy trends are shaping demand.
So when it comes to fermented grapes, you and I have our preference all the way Western Cape, Stellenbosch. But I see that France gives South Africa a bit of a run for our money. And you are telling us that French wine production has slowed this year.
And this is all because of bad weather conditions. For the 2024 year end, France expects output for wine to fall 22%, according to a report conducted by the French government. Output in one of the world's top wine producers is likely to be 37.5 million hectoliters this year, which is also 15% below the 5-year average. The downbeat production will affect all types of wines, with significant reductions anticipated in key regions such as Burgundy and Champagne. Additionally, wines intended for brandy production will also see a drop in output. Bad weather conditions have had widespread impact, resulting in a downward trend in production across the board. And France, which is one of the world's largest wine producers, produced the least amount of wine in 60 years last year. Surprisingly, though, there's still too much wine available in the market, meaning people are buying less wine than before. I don't know which people these are, but I'm sure it's not people in South Africa.
I can't believe you said the sentence, too much wine. Can you ever have too much wine?
Now, climate change is also making it harder for winemakers, and to help, the French government has been providing financial assistance to some vineyards to permanently remove their grapevines, signaling a shift towards a potentially more smaller, more sustainable wine industry in that country. Now, this does present an opportunity for local winemakers. Last year, the country produced 934 million liters of wine, of which 306 million was exported, generating about 10 billion rand. But analysts have also warned of climate change risks and the impact it could have on local harvests.
But that is a lot of wine. Almost 1 billion liters of wine produced locally. Finally, Ntaoleng, just a recap of the markets then around the world.
Another day of record highs for U.S. markets. Those stocks closing yesterday's trade in the green, with the Dow Jones and S&P 500 soaring. This, of course, comes as earnings season is underway, with the first few results affirming that corporate America is still growing at a rapid pace. The optimism on that front somewhat spilling through into Asia, with stocks mostly in the green. Semiconductor companies in particular making the biggest gains after NVIDIA calmed investors and assured them that they are on track with their long-term goals. They saw the stock close at a record high yesterday as well. Back at home, markets mixed but mostly positive as upbeat global sentiment fuels trade. The oil share closing 0.3% higher. In the currency scene, that optimism failing to filter through, with the local unit still on the back foot, trading at 17.64 to the dollar.
All right, thank you for that. Let's chat again in the second hour. That's Ntaoleng Lechela there with your business update. It's not just facts and figures. It's always fascinating what Ntaoleng, how she mixes it all up. It's information that you can use at your fingertips in as far as the economy is concerned. Ntaoleng Lechela there will be back in the second hour just after 7:30.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
So at about at 6:45, let's bring you this story. A coalition or a group of about 104 UN member states, along with the African Union, have signed on a statement which condemns Israel's decision to declare the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, quote-unquote, persona non grata. The petition was initiated by Chile after Israel accused Guterres of failing to, quote-unquote, unequivocally condemning Iran. The coalition of nations, which includes South Africa, expressed what it calls a deep concern and condemnation of Israel's actions. For more on this, I'm joined on the line by the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola. Good morning to you, Minister. Thank you for your time. Just give me the reasons, please, why South Africa felt you needed to sign on to this statement that was crafted and led by Chile. In fact, we were among the first countries to sign up to it.
It is important that the work of the Secretary General of the United Nations goes on unhindered by anyone in the planet, in particular member states of the United Nations. He must be able to go anywhere. He must be able to do his job without any fear of any form of hindrance, whether through being declared persona non grata, being allowed access to various countries. So we see this as very important as a threat to the work of the United Nations itself, but also in the broader picture of some organs of the UN that have not been allowed access in the state of Israel, in particular in Palestine. You will know UNRWA suffered the same fate, and also other many organs, including investigating bodies. So it is important that the whole world speak in one voice, isolate and put pressure on the state of Israel not to continue with this kind of impunity and actions.
104 countries signed up to it, and I scanned through the list. And, you know, as newsworthy as the countries that signed up to it are, also equally newsworthy are the countries that didn't sign up to it. I don't see countries such as the United States, for example. I didn't see the United Kingdoms. In fact, when I looked for countries with names that start with United, I saw United Arab Emirates, and I saw that India was taking quite a fair amount of criticism in India for not signing up to it. What do you make of those countries that didn't sign up on what should look like something that shouldn't be controversial, that the UN Secretary General should be allowed to travel anywhere, including to mediate in conflicts?
Yes, indeed, hence we still call for all member states to sign, including the United States, India, the United Kingdom, everyone who is a member state of the United Nations. This work of the Secretary General is on behalf of the UN and on behalf of all member states. So all member states, if the UN Secretary General is being prevented from doing his or her job, we all have to stand up in one voice, speak and condemn anyone who does not or who is hindering the UN Secretary General from doing his job. So we do encourage and call all member states to sign to the petition, to voice out that the state of Israel should allow the UN Secretary General to do his job, to enable the UN to have unfettered access to information that will enable the UN to do its job, to be able to continue to be a guardian of international law, including international resolutions of the UN that relates to humanitarian access, that relates to health access, and other SDGs of the United Nations, including peace and security in the world, in particular in Gaza, the West Bank, and the Middle East.
Surely you do not expect that this statement will have any impact on Israel. You do not, as much as you've committed and signed up to it, you surely, Minister, don't expect that Israel will be moved by the statement. They've said through the Foreign Minister Israel Katz on the 2nd of October on a post on X saying that the Secretary General has, quote-unquote, yet to denounce the massacre and sexual atrocities committed by Hamas Hamas murderers on October 7, nor has he led any efforts to declare them a terrorist organization. I don't expect that this will move the needle with Israel.
We do expect that it will put a dent to the international community's collective conscience to continue with the work of mobilizing all societies to isolate and condemn the actions of Israel. As you may be aware, Thulasizwe, at the beginning when this started, Israel have always used vitriolic language against anyone who condemns them. And now there is a groundswell support across the globe, even in some of the Western Hemisphere countries, against the state of Israel. And it is also not correct that the SG of the UN has not condemned the actions of Hamas. He has done so in various platforms,
right,
including in the last UN General Assembly, where he was unequivocal.
Just lastly, Minister, I do need to ask you this question. At the heart of what you insist on as South Africa is consistency in the implementation of international law. And I'm sure you are familiar with the criticism that you yourselves are not consistent in condemning war crimes, not the question of alignment with Russia, but a question of war crimes as defined in international law, including the statutes that founded the International Criminal Court. Have you had moment to reflect on your position with regard to Russia and the question of war crimes in Ukraine, not alignment, and I want to emphasize not your political alignment with Russia, but the question of war crimes, whether or not those should be condemned and attended to?
We have always expressed to us, and even when you look at the number of resolutions at the UN with regards to the sovereignty of Ukraine in line with the UN Charter, and we have stated that our president has continuously led the Africa Initiative to engage both parties, because you do need to have a platform where you can enable all the parties to engage. And we have been doing so. Even in the last sitting of the UN General Assembly, our president was able on the margins of the UN General Assembly to meet with Mr. Zelensky. As you are aware, we are also going to Russia next week for the BRICS Summit, which is also another opportunity to engage all the parties to find and engage each other in a peace formula that is currently underway. And President Zelensky has agreed that indeed there is a need to bring Russia on the table for this engagement. And we believe that most of these issues will be put on the table in that platform for further engagement to find long-lasting peace in this regard.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That is Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamula, in conversation with me here on The Morning Brief. Let's get a quick traffic update for you now.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, the roadworks have gone back in on the R21 near Olifantsfontein. They were lifted for a while, and traffic was quite free-flowing on that section between sort of the Irene on-ramp and the Clayville off-ramp, but they look like they're back. We saw them yesterday causing delays, and they are adding to journey times this morning. It's new, so make sure you're aware of that, please. The run through Midrand's fairly busy. A breakdown just after Olifantsfontein Road causing that problem. If you're inland from Durban around Thornville on the road that links Thornville to Umlas Road, so it's the 623, be just east of Thornville, just east of the R56. A big Jojo tanker's blown over or fallen off a truck, and that's causing a sort of standstill of traffic both ways through there. At Cape Town, lots of closures. The N1 outbound off-ramp to Woodstock remains closed. That's following Friday's truck rush. Baden-Powell closed at Khayelitsha and closed at Coastal Park. So there are two closures. It will result in a lot of traffic rerouting through Khayelitsha, through Mitchell's Plain, which is already busy, and through, of course, Lotus River. There's some real heavy pressure of traffic in the Strandfontein area. The other closures, Huguenot Tunnel to high-sided vehicles due to strong winds at the viaduct. Caravans and trucks are all being diverted off the N1 and rerouted over Du Toit's Kloof Pass, the alternative R101. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I was recently diagnosed with myelodysplastic syndrome. Patients like myself go through a long and strenuous journey to get a stem cell transplant. I am grateful for the support I've received as I wait for the call that my donor has been found. This Sunflower Month, be a lifeline to patients like myself by registering to become a stem cell donor. You can save a life by registering at dkmsafrica.org.
The reality is that 90% of South Africans don't save enough for retirement. This National Seniors Month, why not be part of the 10% who do? Choose an interest rate of up to 11.7% after 60 months with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Anyone 55 and over can open one on the Money app in less than 2 minutes. Go to nedbank.co.za for more info. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
Let's bring you this conversation now. According to the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, an estimated 680 South Africans were locked up in foreign prisons for drug-related crimes in 2023. A non-profit organization, Baagi ba South Africa, has helped 36 so-called drug mules convicted in foreign countries to reunite with their families in the past 6 years. In recent weeks, you'll have seen at least 14 alleged drug mules have been arrested upon arrival at OR Tambo International Airport, sparking concerns about a potential increase in drug trafficking in South Africa. Let's bring into the conversation Glory Matipile, who is founder and CEO of Baagi ba South Africa. Good morning to you, ma'am. I've got to thank you for your time. In the work that you do, what are some of the characteristics of people who end up being caught up, being involved in this way as drug mules and involved in the international drug trade? What are you learning about the profile of someone likely to be involved in this?
Good morning, Simelane, and also to all the listeners at home. The issue with South Africans who are getting arrested in foreign prisons, most of them, according to our investigation, we found out that most of them are actually victims of human trafficking. Because during our research, we find that most they've been applying for jobs outside the country, and then others, due to the unemployment rate in South Africa, they are becoming easy targets for these cartels that they can be used as drug traffickers. And then also there are those who found partners online like Facebook, and then after some time when they've been groomed, they are being advised to visit these partners outside the country, only for them when they get to a foreign country they get a shock of their life where they are being told that they are just here to come and do such work.
So would you say then that, the typical response, the glib response that says, oh, well, they knew what they were getting themselves into, Batandizinto, the likers of things, why are they getting involved in this way? Would you say that's simplistic, that the problem is actually more nuanced than that?
Mostly it is easy to pinpoint or just call people by name without knowing the real truth behind what happened. But that's just explained now, because we need to understand that most of our people, none was taught about the safety of online usage, and also how, as an individual, when you're applying for jobs outside the country or outside the province, like what red flags you need to look at. So that goes to show that in our country, or even the social networks that we are using, we just buy cell phones from them, but none is teaching us about the safety.
Yeah,
and that's why most of our people are falling into such steps. And it's about time that even the networks we are using, they get involved in such for the safety of their customers as well. We need to come together and work together in such issues. And especially in terms of the security in the country. I mean, imagine how easy it is that somebody outside the country can just lure you And then to the fact whereby you will even get yourself to the airport thinking that you are going to meet someone outside the country, maybe it's a lover or a job outside the country. Even the airports themselves, they need to work with organizations like us so that we can be able to, to flag a person that we see, no, this person is going to Brazil. And we know that most of the people who've been going to Brazil, they've been getting arrested on their way back or when they get to a certain country. So, like, as a country, we need to work together
Absolutely.
in combating this crime. And at the same time as well, the media is doing much, but if organizations like the airports, the social networks, and we don't work together, then such crimes will continue happening.
Sure.
You understand? And the
All
sad
right.
part in all this is that it's only the victims who are getting arrested. The real perpetrators are not getting arrested.
All right, let's leave it there. I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That is Glory Matipile, who is founder and CEO of Baagi Ba South Africa, raising an important conversation about the so-called drug mules that have been arrested around the world. At 7 a.m., let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, ANC President reflects on 100 days of the GNU and Google goes nuclear to power AI centers. Good morning. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged South Africans not to judge the GNU on its political orientation, but on the work it has done to change their lives for the better. He was speaking to hundreds of his party members on the reflection of the achievements of the GNU outside Luthuli House in Johannesburg. The president cited what he calls the marked improvement in investor confidence and reduction of load shedding as some of the achievements. He says South Africans should be patient with the GNU and judge it fairly.
The GNU should not be judged by the political orientation of the parties that constitute this administration, but it should be judged by the impact that it will make on the lives of the poor and working people of South Africa. Since the elections, South Africans from all walks of life have rallied behind the objectives, the programs, and the work that the GNU has embarked upon. But they've largely rallied around the implementation of the statement of intent.
The suspect who allegedly stabbed to death 5 family members, including 2 girls aged 2 and 6 years old, in the Bethany area at Bergville in KwaZulu-Natal, is expected to appear in court today. The incident occurred at the weekend. Police reports indicate the suspect was returning from his neighbor's house when he started stabbing his family members. Nonjabulo Mtungwa Makamu reports.
The Bergville Magistrates Court is expected to be packed to capacity by relatives of victims and community members ahead of the suspect's appearance. The accused's mother and another 4-year-old girl survived with multiple stab wounds. His sister managed to run to safety with her 1-year-old baby. Police revealed that preliminary investigations have confirmed that the suspect had several domestic violence-related cases opened against him. However, all of them were later voluntarily withdrawn.
About 200,000 grade 1 and 8 learners from more than 300,000 applicants have been placed in Gauteng schools for the 2025 academic year. Education MEC Matome Chilwane gave an update on the grade 1 and 8 placement status at Edenvale High School east of Johannesburg yesterday. He advises parents to apply for schools nearer to their homes rather than applying at popular schools.
What I want to say to parents that must not be worried. We will place your kids. We will place your children. We have capacity and we're improving capacity, especially in those high-pressure areas, to ensure that we really give parents opportunity to place their kids at schools that are near to their homes or where their children are, siblings, or feed up by primary and also work address.
The embattled Maluti Apufung municipality in the Free State has finally appointed a municipal manager, Advocate Mutsohaye Mufokeng. This comes after 2 years of delays caused by collapsed council sittings and political differences. In August, the Auditor General's report revealed the municipality had failed to submit its financial statements on time, and the vacant critical posts were hampering service delivery. The South African Weather Service has issued a yellow level 4 warning for severe thunderstorms and excessive lightning in Gauteng today. This follows persistent heatwave conditions across various regions that have seen temperatures soar to mid-30s for the better part of last week. The South African Weather Service forecaster Lihlohon Nolotobela has warned that the forecast thunderstorms would have a severe impact.
The heat wave was mainly for the northeastern provinces, but the heat wave conditions lasted up until yesterday, and it has just reached a breaking point into today. Severe thunderstorms expected. It's actually a yellow level 4, with mainly the low likelihood of it happening. However, the impacts will be significant of these severe thunderstorms, which would include heavy downpours that are expected by the afternoon to late evening over most parts of northeastern regions, covering Gauteng, the northeastern parts of the Free State province, the eastern parts of the northwest, as well as some areas over Mpumalanga and most of the extreme southwestern parts of Limpopo.
And finally, Google has signed a deal to use small nuclear reactors to generate vast amounts of energy needed for artificial intelligence. The agreement with Kairos Power aims to bring the first plant online by the end of this decade. The BBC's Ritika Gupta has the details.
In a first-of-its-kind deal, Google has committed to buying power generated by nuclear energy startup Kairos Power. Google will back the construction of 7 small modular reactors in the US. Data centers need 24/7 reliable power, and right now nuclear is the only source of emissions-free baseload power. The announcement is yet another example of the growing partnership between tech companies and nuclear power. Last month, Constellation Energy and Microsoft struck a deal to restart the reactor at Pennsylvania's 3 Mile Island, the site of the country's worst nuclear power accident.
Recapping the top story, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged South Africans not to judge the GNU on its political orientation, but on the work it has done to change their lives for the better. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out. Real savings, real benefits. Here's what real clients say about Outsurance.
My name is Alan. I'm 71 years of age and I live in Douglasdale. I'm paying 554 Rand a month for my 2022 Nissan Magnite.
Want a car insurance premium that'll blow your mind? SMS out to 30754 now for a quick quote. That's out to 30754. It's quick, it's easy, and it could save you hundreds of rands every month. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, hot on the heels of yesterday's mess through Midrand, we're following up with more drama. It's a breakdown between Olifants and New Road, and the traffic's parking all the way back again to Brockfontein interchange. Behind that, Samrand Road, Olifantsfontein. Those routes are queuing. The old Joburg Road coming off the N1 taking some extra pressure down into the Midrand area as well. So not as bad as it was yesterday, but not too far away. The R55 has got traffic all over it between Blue Hills, Crowthorne, and deep into Kyalami this morning. A lot of that traffic will be, of course, avoiding the N1 going south, and the big backlogs there as well. Durban, M7 into Pinetown, another busy one this morning, just a queue up towards the M7. The N2 is now heavy as you come up from the M7 Bluff exit through to Westwood Mall, and there's a backlog leaving Pietermaritzburg with a breakdown before Market Road, and that's pushing traffic back towards sort of New England Road, Ormond Territory. Cape Town, still no access to Woodstock on the N1 out of town. A ramp to Lower Church remains closed to traffic, and the bridge across the N1 remains fully closed as well, following last Friday yesterday's truck crash. And Baden-Powell closure between Strandfontein and Muizenberg, causing really big backlogs in the Strandfontein area. A lot of motorists avoiding that, running into equally heavy traffic conditions, particularly around Mitchell's Plain up the M7 and the Velter-Freden Road. Both of those routes heading out to Philippi already loaded, and a lot of extra diverting traffic coming into the back end of it as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it's soccer. The Bafana captain, Bronwyn Williams, shares his insights ahead of Bafana's AFCON qualifying clash tonight at 6 p.m. And the Nigerian soccer team that was stranded in Libya are boycotting the African Cup qualifier match against Libya. Details around 7:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Tuesday, the 15th of October 2024 has dawned. Good morning, South Africa. This is the morning brief on SAFM. It's all the local and international news, current affairs, insights and opinions you need to lead the conversation today. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane and I'm here to deliver your morning brief. Coming up in the next hour, within this hour, we'll be talking to the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, David Mahlobo, after he visited the Hartbeespoort area yesterday to facilitate a community meeting after increased racial tensions in the town. He will be telling us about how that went. You'll know that black owners of establishments around the dam Hartbeespoort say they have been targeted by their white counterparts. It's a story that's been bubbling under for quite some time, and the Deputy Minister taking the initiative to try and facilitate a conversation and a dialogue within that situation, and he will tell us how that went. The other story we will cover in this hour has to do with this idea of a wealth tax. The earliest strongest arguments, I would say, for a wealth tax, were presented at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission by Professor Sampitere Blanche. This was in 1997, and he was talking about how that would have the impact of almost being like reparations in a way for the ravages of apartheid, but particularly the benefit reaped by white-owned businesses under apartheid. And the idea was that these would then go into a fund that would work almost like reparations and would support the poverty alleviation efforts of government, a tax on the super rich. That idea has never really gone away, but it's never really been accepted into the mainstream. So I read an interesting piece that was written by Thabani Khumalo on the Sunday Times over the past weekend, where he makes the case that perhaps this is something that the government of national unity should look at, given the increasing inequalities in our country. And I wonder how much cohesion would be there around this idea within the context of the government of national unity. So that conversation coming up as well at about 10 to 8 in this hour. Of course, we have all of your regulars lined up for you, but we're also taking your calls, and the number to dial for that is 086 000 2032. We'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. This is SAFM, Conversations That Move Us. The second hour of the morning brief starts now.
Is alcohol affecting your work? Is alcohol affecting your family? Is alcohol affecting your relationships? Visit aasouthafrica.org.za or call 086 143 5722. With Alcoholics Anonymous, you need never stand alone again. This is a SABC-supported initiative.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Congo Brazzaville wants to ensure that AFCON bronze medalist South Africa gets nothing during their visit to Brazzaville. However, Southern Africans Bafana want to represent the region well by collecting maximum points. This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Experience the exciting journey to Morocco, Congo Brazzaville versus South Africa on Tuesday, 15 October at 6 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
At 7:15, let's turn our attention to this story now. The Judicial Service Commission commenced interviews for judicial vacancies yesterday by interviewing candidates for the Western Cape Division of the High Court. The position of Judge President for that court remained vacant at the start of this cycle after the removal of Dr. John Hlophe early this year. During the interviews, fault lines in the Western Cape High Court were revealed when Acting Judge President Patricia Goliath was quizzed for that role. Judge N.P. Mabindla Poqwana, of course, was then confirmed later on as the new Judge President of the Western Cape Division. Let's bring into the conversation the SABC reporter, Kenny Mapanga. Good morning to you, Kenny. Just a recap and, your reflections on how the interviews went before we got to the announcement that Judge N.P. Mabindla Poqwana would be the Judge President.
Well, good morning to you, Thulasizwe, and to the listeners. Of course, yesterday in a marathon run of interviews, I think up until midnight, the JSC sat and interviewed about 7 candidates for the position of Judge President of the Western Cape. Now, that's an important position because it's not only about the quality of your judgments or how you meet transformation targets, etc. It really is about the leadership qualities that the candidate possesses, because the Western Cape Division is a division that you've heard from the interviews yourself that is troubled, is coming from a fractured past. It had a deputy judge president, that is Patricia Goliath, and a former or impeached former judge president, Dr. John Hlophe, who were at odds and laid counter complaints against one another. And it was clear through the interviews that we saw that that's quite fractured or had an impact on the judges of that division. So we kicked off in the morning with the interview of acting judge president, that is Patricia Goliath. Of course, her term ends in October, and she'll return to her deputy judge president role. But of course, when she came, she's the only candidate, by the way, that had the opportunity to act for just a few months shy of 2 years as the acting judge president. So she was in a position to give the JSC an idea of how she turned around the Western Cape Division following the fractures and the flaws that it has seen in the past few years due to the complaints and, of course, the subsequent removal of Dr. John Hlophe from the office of the Judge President of the Western Cape Division. Now, when she headed into that interview, she painted a picture of a division that has stabilized under her leadership, but I think what was not expected was to see a comment come in from a senior judge of that very same division that held otherwise, and made comments or raised concerns, rather, to the JSC that questioned her leadership style and whether she would have been suitable for the position of Judge President of the Western Cape. I mean, these were serious concerns that were raised about the kind of dynamics in the division, the conduct of Judge Goliath's secretary, and the manner in which the division communicates, as well as its administrative ability, so whether they take minutes or not in meetings, rather. So those are the concerns that were raised that were taken quite seriously by the JSC. And to add to that, there was the acting deputy judge president, Judge Lacharge, which was interviewed as well. And when he presented that vision statement, rather, the JSC couldn't see how in that acting stint their leadership qualities had turned around that division. And when Judge Mabindla Pokwana did her interview, it was clear that she was a standout and as an outsider could come in and address some of the concerns or quote-unquote troubles that exist in the Western Cape Division, because it was clear from the lineup of interviews that while those candidates were not saying much, there clearly were some critical issues, or clearly are still some critical issues in the Western Cape Division that haven't been resolved even following the removal of Dr. John Tlhophe from office.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for that, Kenny, outlining and setting the context of what led up to the announcement by the JSC that they would be recommending the appointment of Judge NP Mabindla Pokwana to be the Judge President of the Western Cape Division. In fact, let's continue with that theme then, and I'm joined now by Alison Tilley, who is coordinator at Judges Matter. Good morning to you, Alison. I've got to thank you for your time. So how important was it that the right candidate, the right fit be appointed for? I mean, it's always important for any judge to be fit and proper, but why was this particular division of particular importance that the JSC needed to get this one right?
Good morning. It's a big division. It's busy. It's where Parliament is located. And of course, that means applications to that court. It's a division that's been troubled. There have been complaints and counter-complaints and much unhappiness, I think. So, because of all those reasons, I think it is really important that the new JP is going to be able to not only hit the ground running, but able to stay the course and help stabilize the division over a number of years.
And what is your reaction then after the interviews were done and dusted? I did see the candidates being quizzed about the difficulties of the last few years within that division, including the candidate who ended up being the one that is recommended for appointment by the JSC, and that is Judge NP Mabindla Pokwana. I'm just wondering what you make of that preference of the JSC.
Well, I think Judge Goliath was in a difficult position. She had come in, had been acting as the head of the division, and all the problems still remained. And she was arguing that the problems were solved and she dealt with them, but it was clear in the subsequent interviews that many of them remained. So I think the sort of natural person, the deputy, the person who's been acting, might have been expected that she was appointed. But I think the interview, which went on for very long, 4 hours, really told you why, that it just wasn't going to happen. I think the contrast with Judge Mabindla Pokwana was really quite stark. On many levels, I think the commissioners liked her. They liked the fact that she had a really good track record of judgments. I think they liked that she was making herself available for the Western Cape at the request of people. So she wasn't, imagining herself JP, but people from the division were actually saying, we think you can really help us solve this. And interestingly, she has a mediation background. So you have somebody who would be coming in with a good track record on decision-making, but also managing people. And I think that might be, that sounds like a winning combination.
Yeah. Just lastly, Alison, your overall impression of how productive this sitting of the JSC for these interviews has been. 6 vacancies in the Gauteng division, 4 vacancies in the KwaZulu-Natal division, and quite a number of other vacancies. I can't remember the exact number in the Supreme Court of Appeal. It would seem it's been quite productive.
Yes, I think we counted them at 56 at one point. But don't hold me to that. It's been a very busy round. They continue today and tomorrow. I think it just underscores the number of vacancies, the fact that they need to be filled really promptly, and then the fact that even if all of the posts are filled, and we know now that that won't be the case. There's still going to be a shortage of judges in the bigger divisions, and I think that point was made strongly yesterday. So, I think we've still got a way to go in getting the number of judges up to where it needs to be.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for your time this morning. That is Alison Tilly, who is coordinator at Judges Matters, reflecting on the processes that have been underway at the Judicial Service Commission, and in particular as far as the recommended appointment that the JSC has now made, the recommended appointment of Judge N.P. Mabindla Poqwana as the next Judge President of the Western Cape Division of the High Court.
Assurance, they understand my business. They are so good in terms of communication, which gives me confidence. It's a good decision that I've made to move to Assurance. I'm a winner. I want to be with the winners.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed Dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom. This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
Bayern München are not just about singing their club anthem, Star of the South. They want to maintain their unbeaten run while their visitors, VfB Stuttgart, plan to live up to their slogan, fearless and loyal. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch the nail-biting clash between Bayern München and VfB Stuttgart this Saturday, 19 October at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Send Thulasizwe your voice notes on 061 410 4107.
26 minutes after 7, let's turn to this conversation now. Some white business owners in Hartbeespoort say racism is being used as a scapegoat to cover the real issues in the town. The area has been gripped by racial tensions over the last few months, with black owners of establishments around the dam saying they have been targeted by their white counterparts. On Monday, Water and Sanitation Deputy Minister David Mahlobo visited the area to facilitate a community meeting. The Deputy Minister joins us now to report back on that engagement. Good morning to you, Deputy Minister. Did you leave the town having had a sense that you now understand and fully grasp what the issues are that led to those tensions in Hartbeespoort?
No, thank you very much, Makucha Thulas. And I'm very pleased that yesterday we had a difficult but productive discussion. We had a sense that the community had gone through strife over a particular period, which was an incident where issues of racism raising its ugly head cannot be dismissed. But at the very same time, we cannot paint all those citizens as if they are racist. But even during the 30 years of our democracy, Thulas, you will appreciate, was made strides. But racism, tribalism, that demon is not easy to go by. And that community, if you look, originally it was mostly white establishment in a prime area and a prime land. But it has transformed over time because many black South Africans have been able to settle them. But when it comes to the issue at hand, the issue of the dam, which is an important endowment for them in that particular community, the historical legacy, where the apartheid government chose, one, to deny people access to water, let alone access to the opportunities that water brings. In our own case, with 99-year leases, it means you'll go for 2 to 3 generations when black people were the ones that were removed in those particular communities when there was an expropriation for the land to use the dam. We cancelled that issue of 99-year leases. Some because we wanted to include black people around the usage of the dams. One, you can't have dams like Josine and others only used for irrigation or mining. Then we dealt with that. Then when we said that the land must be used for black people so that they too can participate in the economy of their own country, they took us to court until to the apex court. Then they lost, were to introduce new leases. There were 4 leases that we gave, and some black people were having an opportunity for the first time to participate. They experienced serious difficulties. No one denies that. One black person yesterday was sharing a sad story where he was beaten by a security guard on an instruction of another person there in front of a child. Imagine a child getting exposed to his father being beaten. We are treating a children that will actually learning to hate other people, because Nelson Mandela taught us that no one was born to hate or being racist, but to socialize them. One business owner, very, very devastating. His business was gutted down in terms of arson. He lost everything. Then another one was given by the department and access, a servitude to them. Some people decided to block this person. The only issue we could actually agree is to say, in as much as there are many progressive white South Africans who love their country, they have to coexist, but they can't remain quiet when these incidents happen. They need to raise their voices. When the meeting proceeded, they even had a good attitude to say they wanted to be part of an effort just to demonstrate that they are not part of this in terms of good leadership, and then they will build this thing. Then from there are issues of governance around trading. You know, they were accusing each other that someone is making noise, the other ones are making noise. And then the other issues they were accusing each other is issues of compliance with permits for trading. And you could see that the municipality must check up its act around issues of permits, whether legal, trading hours and others. And then we thought that local government can play an important part. The last point to us is the issue around the pollution in the dam. And an important infrastructure, they can fight over it, but it's very depreciating. We have to stop the pollution, clean up the dam, and deal with those issues.
All right, Deputy Minister, I've got to thank you for your time. That comprehensive report back there, it does sound like a great deal of progress was made in what the Deputy Minister describes as having been a difficult but necessary conversation among the residents and business owners around the area of Hartbeespoort Dam. Let's check in now with Ann Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the Judicial Service Commission has resolved to recommend Judge Nolwazi Mabindla Bokwana for the position of Judge President of the Western Cape Division of the High Court to President Cyril Ramaphosa. A 45-year-old man will appear at the Lusikisiki Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape for a formal bail application today in connection with the murder of 18 people at Ngobazana village in Lusikisiki last month. And ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged South Africans not to judge the GNU on its political orientation, but on the work it has done to change their lives for the better. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, hot on the heels of yesterday's chaos, another busy one through Midrand. This morning it's a breakdown between Olifantsfontein and New Road. It's taking a while to clear. It's led traffic back all the way through to Brockfontein, and it's led big delays again on routes like Samrand Road. On Olifantsfontein, trying to get through to the highway. Routes that feed into those routes are busy, and then a big sort of overflow onto the R55. Motorists jamming heavily, Blue Hills into Crowthorne and down through towards Kyalami. Roadworks back on the R21 South, approaching the Clayville off-ramp. For your airport bound, that's a sort of new delay. They've been been sort of missing for a while, but they were back, I think, yesterday. So airport bound, just give yourself plenty of time to get through. Central Pinetown, just outside Durban, gridlocking. Truckers sort of overturned on the M13 eastbound off-ramp to the M7 St John's Avenue Bridge. So that's causing all sorts of issues in that really central Pinetown area. Cape Town Baden-Powell Drive closed between Strandfontein and Muizenberg. Very heavy backlogs through Strandfontein. And just up the road, Mitchell's Plain stays really heavy with motorists diverting that far to sort of loop around and avoid the traffic in Strandfontein. So those two areas very busy. And Marine Drive saw it yesterday, seeing it again today. Quite a heavy queue into Loxton Road at Woodbridge Island. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you once again, Zai. It's a rumble in the Great Lakes this evening.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up, especially after that 5-0 drubbing.
Yes.
You know that Congo is going to be rumbling. They'll be wanting to rumble against our Bafana tonight.
And we've been hearing from our shot stopper, Ronwen Williams.
Yeah, you know, we've
Extraordinary shot stopper, I should add.
What a man. And I mean, you know, he's our captain. And I think, you know, we've got our game plan locked in tight. And what do I know? Let's hear from our captain, Bafana captain, Ronwen Williams.
We've gained valuable experience over the last few years. We've been a group that's been together for 3 years now. So it's just for us to go out there and, you know, do the best that we can do, fight, challenge, be determined in every duel, and make sure that we keep the fans quiet, because the fans can obviously give them energy. They can boost them. So for us, you know, the first 30 minutes is going to be highly important. You know, hopefully we can get one goal so that can, you know, keep the fans quiet.
That's Bafana facing Congo Brazzaville tonight in a crucial Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Kick-off at 6 p.m. and you can catch it live on SABC Sport. Nigeria's Super Eagles, they've boycotted their Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Libya after being stranded for 19 hours at Al Barak Airport. The team was scheduled to land in Benghazi but was diverted, leaving them stuck with no food or communication. Nigerian Football Federation officials claim it was part of a mind game tactic by Libyan authorities, although Libya denied these allegations, attributing the issue to air traffic control. Now, CAF is investigating the disruption. The Super Eagles, including star players like Ademola Lookman and Victor Boniface, have refused to play until the matter is resolved. Action elsewhere, Gambia edging out Madagascar 1-0 in their 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. All happened at Stade Ben Ahmed Al Abdi yesterday to revive their chances of qualifying for the competition. Cameroon booking their place courtesy of a 1-0 win over Kenya at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium yesterday, maintaining their unbeaten record in Group J of qualifying to open up a 6-point gap to the third place Kenyan team. Closer to Obe, Royal AM's appeal to have their FIFA transfer ban overturned has reportedly been thrown out by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Sean Mkhize's Royal AM approached the Court of Arbitration for Sport to try and overturn the transfer ban that was handed to them by FIFA after they failed to pay the salaries of forward Samir Nurkovic and defender Ricardo Nascimento. The KwaZulu-Natal side owe Nurkovic 12 million rand in wages after the club terminated his contract. As a result, they haven't been able to sign any new players for over a year, which has necessitated them playing their chairman, Andile Mpisane, in the midfield. On to rugby news, the Bulls director of rugby, Jake White, has indicated his side will try and get the red card to midfielder David Giel overturned as they move on to face Scarlets on Friday night and need to find a new midfielder for the game. Giel was red carded early in the second half in an incident that has been widely debated whether it should have been a card at all. His handoff was initially flagged as being fine by the referee Ian Cross and the television match official, but after TV screens at the game showed replays that infuriated the crowd and caused him to re-look at it and decide to give a red card. More sport for you on the morning brief at the top of the hour. For SAFM, I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
For that, let's bring in Dauleng Lechela. Good morning to you once again, Dauleng. Company news now. You're focusing on Calgro M3 and them securing a Bankenfeld development deal. What is that all about?
negotiations, Calgro M3 has secured the Bankenveld District City development. This deal is expected to bridge the gap between Sandton and surrounding underdeveloped areas, providing affordable housing and job opportunities. The company CEO, Vikas Latachan, expressed excitement about the project, citing its potential to enhance Johannesburg's infrastructure with 6,000 units in the first phase and a road connecting Woodmead to Marlborough Drive. Now, this announcement comes alongside its half-year financials, where Calgro's revenue declined 26.4% to 507 million rand due to reduced unit sales, but its bottom line ticked higher, rising 28.5%. The group also owns Memorial Park. The unit I find particularly interesting. That segment grew revenue by 59% to 31.7 million rand. Calgro runs 5 memorial parks, including Nasrat Memorial Park in the south of Joburg and Hallways Memorial Park in the north of Joburg. The group noted significant growth in its lay-by sales, offering or rather reflecting strong consumer confidence and the success of their flexible payment options. So we're seeing a number of South African consumers, lay-buying grave sites to us.
Yeah. In other company news, and Dowling, tell us about Altvest listing on the JSE.
So the JSE has welcomed its 5th listing this year. Altvest Capital is the newest company to list on the JSE's Alternative Exchange Board. Now, Altvest Capital is a private investment platform that transferred its listing from the Cape Town Stock Exchange to the AltX Board to boost liquidity and access a broader investor base. The company offers funding to small businesses and provides investors with access to alternative investments. According to Sam Mukorosi, the head of origination and deals at the JSE, the exchange has seen a decline in delistings this year, with only 10 delistings compared to 18 during the same period in 2023. The JSE is optimistic about its listings pipeline, with upcoming listings including Pick n Pay's Boxer and Coca-Cola Beverages Africa. The exchange attributes its resilience to factors such as the global downtrend in interest rates and the government's efforts to stimulate economic growth. Now, with Altvest Capital's listing, the exchange now has about 279 listed companies with a market capitalization exceeding 19.7 trillion rand. This, however, is far from the 600 listings the board had about 24 years ago. Another concerning trend that has emerged there is that we are seeing existing listed companies unbundling and spinning off units into separate listings rather than new companies entering the market. This somewhat indicates that the JSE is still struggling to attract and retain listings, or rather struggling to retain listings this far.
Did I hear you correctly? Did you say they transferred from the Cape Town Stock Exchange?
Yes.
I must just admit, I didn't know there was a Cape Town Stock Exchange.
They also they rebranded. They recently rebranded.
I'm sorry. Maybe it's my ignorance. Just lastly, a recap then, Dowling, of the markets here at home and abroad.
So kicking things off in Asia, shares mostly mixed after another record high on Wall Street, fueled by tech stocks. We saw the Japanese Nikkei making the most gains there, up 1.25%. Stocks in China, however, are in the red, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng posting the most losses, down 1.8%. Over in the U.S., futures are in the green, tracking yesterday's strong finish. Traders on that end eyeing earnings from big banks this week. Coming back home, markets closing mostly in the green following global peers. The all-share ending trade 0.3% higher. The rand still on the back foot, though. The rally there losing steam, with the local unit trading at 17.63 to the dollar, falling from highs it recorded 2 weeks ago of about 17.30.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ndauling Lechela. She'll be back with one more update for you just before the JSE opens for trading for Tuesday.
My name is Bonolo Motuba. I'm 17. My school was far from home and my parents were spending large amounts on transport. That's why they moved me to UCT Online High School, and it's been amazing. With savings on transport and uniforms, I was able to get ahead and stay ahead. Visit uctonlinehighschool.com to learn more. Applications close 29 November 2024.
Health experts say that taking care of your baby starts the day you learn you have conceived. Changes should start immediately, from what you eat to how you take care of yourself. After you've delivered your baby, does the worry stop? No, it doesn't. From there, it's clinic visits, breastfeeding, introducing solids, and the list goes on. If you're a mom, father, or caregiver and are curious on how to support your kids' development to reach their full potential, or even concerned about the nutrition that strengthens their bodies, then our new SABC Education feature, Side by Side, is for you. Get all the advice you need from the Department of Health by tuning in every Wednesday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m. on The Full Circle on SAFM, starting in October. Tune into the feature and you could win 1,000 Rand with our monthly competition. Side by Side, brought to you by SABC Education on SAFM, leading the conversation.
After an impressive run in their first 5 matches of the 2024-25 season, collecting 18 points each, both La Rochelle and Bordeaux-Bègles are pumped up with high energy and eagerness to elevate their winning mentality to the highest level. Witness the collision of two giants, the top 14 rugby contest between La Rochelle and Union Bordeaux-Bègles on Sunday, 20 October at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
Africa Update on SAFM.
All right, let's bring in Advocate Sipho Mantula for that Africa update. Good morning to you, Raz. Let's start with news to do with the Nile River. Because it's so important to Egypt, many of us naturally associated with Egypt, but it actually flows across many African states and can at times lead to difficulties in terms of the relationships between those countries. A new deal being struck then between Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan.
Refreshing morning to us. Actually, to us, when you look at this Nile Basin initiative, you find that both Egypt and Sudan are in protest. They are not in support. We'll call them the upper stream, and the downstream states are your Rwanda, South Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, DRC, which have endorsed this cooperative framework document that was brought by Ethiopia. Cairo and Khartoum, if you look to us, they are actually against this issue of the sharing of water, the scarcity of water resources. But as you have said, the issues of water reminds us of Boutros Ghali, that the 21st century battle will be around the water. But when you look at the water security between Addis Ababa and the 3 other upstream countries, that they are also ignoring that this Nile Basin will benefit the whole Horn of Africa or the region of the African continent. And that's why we have this struggle that has been going on for many years. Ethiopia, it is of the view that some of these water rights are based on the colonial laws.
If South Africa has the National Development Plan, you are going to tell us that Senegal has Senegal 2050 and it's described as a breakthrough program. What is this plan all about that was unveiled by the Prime Minister?
You know, Usman Sonko did what, as you are saying, we have 2030 vision, and after they think it's only 5 years from now, and we have 2050 vision of SADC. But what we have from Senegal now, Usman Sonko is emphasizing on key issues, the foreign debt, the issues of local resources and human capital, but also looking at the Japanese model as for many African countries. He will also want to look at what he calls how will he increase the per capita income by 2050. Those are his high ideals or his vision. The issue of high budget deficit and the public debt are those areas that Senegal wants to deal with. They are also worried, just like us, by the credit ratings.
Yeah. And then some distressing news coming out of South Sudan, and it's got to do with flooding in the Jonglei state.
You know, Jonglei State is the area of Port Town where John Garang was born. It's very sad when you look at that area that, as we are speaking about the Nile River, the water catchment, even if you have floods, how do we also save this flood? But the water in Jonglei is creating now diseases like malaria, pneumonia, and unseen diseases. And South Sudan is still struggling when you think of health facilities. And that's where now it is what we call international assistance request that is coming from the South Sudan, particularly on the Jongeli state, the village and the city where John Garandi Mapio was born.
And in the DRC, North Kivu in particular, my goodness, fighting in that region has been ongoing for a better part of the last three decades. And I see that the ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, is renewing focus on that region.
You know, Karim Khan is following to last 2023. There was a referral from the DRC government to look at the natural resources pillaging alleging that coming from Rwanda and the M23 rebel. Karim Khan yesterday said that he will renew that because there are alleged crimes that were also committed between 2022-2023. Not easy to last when you are an ICC prosecutor and at the same time you have African Court of Justice in Arusha that also have to deal with these issues. ICC doesn't have what I call enforcement powers. He might investigate, but the DRC, as you have said, you said 3 decades, others will say to last 6 decades, since 1960. This is a country that has been ravaged with conflict and also exploitation of its natural resources.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. A deep history of that kind of conflict in the DRC. Lastly, in your historical archives, you are taking us back to the 15th of October, 2011. What happened on this day?
The UN General Assembly declared that today should be known as International Day for Rural Women. Why the rural women? These indigenous women are more into agriculture, they are more into food security, and they're also assisting with eradicating rural poverty. Now, the theme for 2024 is around rural women sustaining nature for our collective future, building climate resilience, conserving biodiversity, and caring for land towards gender equality and empowerment. Heavy loaded theme to us, but it comes from resolution 62/136 of the UN General Assembly that was passed in 2007 and only came into force on this day in 2011, almost 18 years ago. That this day is for Abo Mama, Nabo Makulu, who are in the rural farming areas to us, who are even providing food for this country and for this continent. Asante sana to us, as I said in the conversation, SFM, observing the Human Rights Month.
All right, thank you for that. Have yourself a great day there. That's Sipho Mandula with your Africa Update. Ending on that note about today being International Day for Rural Women as declared by the United Nations General Assembly on 15 October 2011.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, motorists driving between the airport and Pretoria, this is Tambo, Pretoria. Just note the roadworks are back with the lane restrictions just north of Clayville, north of the Olifantsfontein exit, and there are delays this morning both directions. Those delays at that point have been absent for a little while, but we sort of saw some delays yesterday and certainly seeing full-on delays today. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through. Breakdown on the M1 South just after Olifantsfontein has been cleared, but there's one on the northbound side which is causing a slowdown for motorists heading towards Pretoria. Mike, one's pretty heavy today from Boyson's right through to sort of Houghton Estate up towards 11th Avenue before you're out of that big backlog. Durban side this morning, M13 coming off Fields Hill, very heavy through towards Paradise Valley. There may well be a problem with a truck that crashed a little bit early getting off that M13 and onto St John's Avenue Bridge, and that's probably forcing a lot of traffic past that bridge down to Stapleton Road and Paradise Valley area. The M2 heavy from the M7 through towards Westwood Mall into the roadworks. Cape Town very heavy coming out of Tableview this morning. You've got lights down on the West Coast Road at Bloberg Road, so that's a bit of an issue. Marine Drive from Sunnydale through Sunset Beach is heavy. Queues again today at Loxton Road on that section of Marine Drive. That always stays busy when you get problems to about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. N7 very heavy both ways from Dunoon down towards Bosmansdam and from Goodwood through to Bosmansdam, and the back road out of Richwood, or the the new River Gate area, I should say, River Gate on Malabongwe Drive coming off Sandown Road towards the N7, quite heavy. Crash on the R300 north at Hindle Road, that's backlogging traffic from the N2 up towards the Cales River and Belleville area. And Baden-Powell Drive closed at Khayelitsha, closed at Coastal Park. There's some real heavy traffic in around the Strandfontein areas. Motorists deal with that closure between Strandfontein and Muizenberg. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Spring is in the air and it's almost time for SA Garden Day on Sunday 20 October. Celebrate your garden with a tea party, a luncheon or simply lying down with a good book. Invite friends, family or neighbors to appreciate your garden. Visit gardenday.co.za for ideas and inspiration. And remember to upload your flower crown selfie to social media, the ultimate Garden Day accessory. Mark your calendar. SA Garden Day, Sunday 20 October.
My business is very stressful. Construction and plumbing, anything can go wrong. The reason I chose Outsurance because they align with my vision with regards to customer service. The fact that they won the award for Best Business Insurance makes me feel like I'm in the right hands.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Congo Brazzaville wants to ensure that AFCON bronze medalist South Africa gets nothing during their visit to Brazzaville. However, Southern Africans Bafana Bafana want to represent the region well by collecting maximum points. This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Experience the exciting journey to Morocco, Congo Brazzaville versus South Africa on Tuesday, 15 October at 6 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.6 FM in Mthatha.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Let me take two quick calls before I go to the next conversation here on the show. Let's start with Lesiba, who is in Khobokwane. And Lesiba, good morning to you. Short and sharp, you want to talk to me about the ANC and the 100 days in the government of national unity.
Yes, Tula, good morning to yourself and your producer. You see, I was very impressed about the statement by the president of the ANC and the president of the Republic. You see, it's very encouraging to see 100 days of progress. And this is a continuation of the work that the ANC has been doing. The only thing is the acknowledgement from all participants in government of national unity, the DA, IFL. They know how the responsibility of running the state. It was very easy for them to raise issues outside the government. Now they're in the government, they know what we mean by saying governance. So what we should do as the citizen, we must also play our role. We cannot just vote, fold our arms and expect the politician to do things for us. 100%. We must work with this politician. Where the municipalities are expecting to correct revenue, we must be able to pay. Like people of the wage, now they must change attitude and pay for their bills and all the countries, so that we must support this government. You will see at the end of this 5 years, the progress will be tremendous. We'll be able to say this. But for the parties that will not be able, like the attitude of the DA isn't going to change. In the next elections, which is going to be municipal elections, our people, particularly the poor and the vulnerable, they will be able to say this is the party that should be left out, and they will leave that party out. But
all right, let's leave it there, Lesiba. Thank you so much for that input. Lesiba, quite optimistic about the government of national unity, describing the first 100 days as 100 days of progress. Let's turn to this conversation now. Some experts argue that for the government of national unity to deal decisively with the legacy of apartheid, it should consider the introduction of a wealth tax. The idea of a wealth tax was first mooted by the economist Sampi Terreblanche in his submission to the TRC in 1997. The case for a wealth tax was recently made again, quite strongly, I should say, by the KwaZulu-Natal-based management consultant Thabani Khumalo, writing in the Sunday Times this past weekend. Let's bring into this conversation then economist and managing director of ESG Analytics, Sfiso Skenjana. Sfiso, good morning. Thank you for your time. So this idea has never really gone away, the idea of a wealth tax, but has never really been adopted. What are the arguments for and against a wealth tax? And importantly, on which side do you land up?
Good morning to you and your listeners.
I mean, I think there are a number of ways in which to look at the conversation. I think the first is understanding the taxation landscape in South Africa and understanding how we get there. And so, as it stands, it's about 15.9% of our tax revenue comes from corporate income tax, and about 40%, it's about 39%, comes from personal income tax, and then there's VAT and excise in between that. And so when you look at those numbers, one, you ask yourself something, there's a term we analyze in economics called the Laffer curve. And it talks about to what extent do you have room for any additional taxation before you collapse the economy. And so you're asking us how much can you tax still in which that those positive tax revenues can keep us growing. I think that's the first question. And I think for me, to the extent that corporate income tax is only contributing 16%, it means that, one, I think our taxation policy is not effective, and a lot of wealth gets hidden through the corporate income, the corporatized wealth creation process. And I think that's the one thing is that do we have full sight of what we call wealth in South Africa, and is our taxation policy aligned with that? There's research that came from guys at WITS actually that found that our approach from a taxation policy point of view misrepresents or underestimates the extent of wealth as well as in the efficiencies in collection of that. And so fast forward then to 5 years ago when this came up again around the political, agenda around wealth taxation, I think there was a Davis committee that came through and they were exploring this thing of the wealth tax. And even there, the only taxation that they deemed wealth tax was transfer duties, estate duties, and donations tax, which again for me doesn't really show, the true wealth that was amassed in the context of apartheid. And so to answer your question, one, I think we don't have a clear view of what wealth is in the context of our economy and who holds it, and therefore our taxation policy is not fit for purpose to be able to effectively govern and manage a progressive wealth tax.
All right, I've got to leave it there. I do believe we should revisit this conversation and give it a bit more time, but that is Sfiso Skenjana, who is economist and managing director of ESG Analytics. And that brings us to 8 a.m., time for a news update with N. Musa. Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
In our top stories, Justice Mabindla Boqwana recommended for Western Cape Judge President position and Lusikisiki mass murder accused to appear in court. Good morning. The Judicial Service Commission has resolved to recommend Judge Nolwazi Mabindla Boqwana for the position of Judge President of the Western Cape Division of the High Court to President Cyril Ramaphosa. She was appointed to the bench in 2013 and currently serves as a justice in the Supreme Court of Appeal. The JSC conducted marathon interviews that took over 12 hours, with Chief Justice Mandisa Maya highlighting the necessity for thorough engagements with candidates due to the state of the division. Maya probed Mabindla Boqwana on her use of isiXhosa to pen an additional version of an appellate court judgment. She emphasized the need to recognize all languages in the country's courts.
There should be recognition that all 11 languages are constitutionally recognized and entrenched, and promotion of language is important. So I would definitely inculcate that and encourage us as much as possible to make sure that we write judgments in the language that people understand. And maybe not just judgment writing. Proceedings in court could happen in the language of the people that are there if all speak the same language. But I understand the issue of cost because of the translations that have to be done for purposes of an appeal and all that kind of thing. But
A 45-year-old man will appear at the Thulasizwe Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape for formal bail application today in connection with the murder of 18 people at Ngobazana village last month. A high-level police intelligence investigation led to the arrest of the parolee, and automatic rifle was allegedly confiscated from him. The 18 people, including 15 women, were murdered on the eve of a cleansing ceremony. Social and gender activists are expected to join the community that will be picketing outside the court, calling for justice and no bail for the suspect. The suspect, who allegedly stabbed to death 5 family members, including 2 girls aged 2 and 6 years old, in the Bethany area at Bergville in KwaZulu-Natal, is expected to appear in court today. The incident happened at the weekend. Police reports indicate the suspect was returning from his neighbor's house when he started stabbing his family members. Nonjabulo Mtungwa Makamo reports.
The Bergville Magistrates Court is expected to be packed to capacity by relatives of victims and community members ahead of the suspect's appearance. The accused's mother and another 4-year-old girl survived with multiple stab wounds. His sister managed to run to safety with her 1-year-old baby. Police revealed that preliminary investigations have confirmed that the suspect had several domestic violence-related cases opened against him. However, all of them were later voluntarily withdrawn.
ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged South Africans not to judge the GNU on its political orientation, but on the work it has done to change their lives for the better. He was speaking to hundreds of his party members on the reflection of the achievements of the GNU outside Luthuli House in Johannesburg. The president cited what he calls the marked improvement in investor confidence and reduction of load shedding as some of the achievements of the GNU. He says South Africans should be patient with the GNU and judge it fairly.
The GNU should not be judged by the political orientation of the parties that constitute this administration, but it should be judged by the impact that it will make on the lives of the poor and working people of South Africa. Since the elections, South Africans from all walks of life have rallied behind the objectives, the programs, and the work that the GNU has embarked upon. But they've largely rallied around the implementation of the statement of intent.
Opposition parties in Limpopo have welcomed the decision by the Special Investigating Unit to probe the alleged fraud, maladministration and corruption at the Limpopo Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. The proclamation was signed by President Cyril Ramaphosa a few weeks ago. It's alleged between 2011 and 2017 the department irregularly awarded security tenders and appointed 5 managers without due process. EFF chairperson Lawrence Mapulo and the DA MPL Franco Marx says the alleged corrupt activities resulted in the department losing millions of rand.
This investigation will reveal long-awaited information about the period where there had been suspicion and allegations of corrupt activities in the department as far back as 2017, as per a draft report of the Limpopo Standing Committee on Public Accounts. As the DA, we are adamant that all corruption and maladministration must be dealt with as soon as practically possible, and the culprits must be brought to justice. We believe that the people of Limpopo deserve clean governance and ethical leadership.
Recapping the top story, the Judicial Service Commission has resolved to recommend Judge Nolwazima Bindlabokwana for the position of Judge President of the Western Cape Division of the High Court to President Cyril Ramaphosa. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today. SMS CAR to 43187. What's the hype about Outsurance Essential and how is it different to any other car insurance out there? Outsurance Essential is specifically designed and priced for older cars. After an accident, claims are paid in cash, so you can choose the panel beater you want to use. And now Outsurance also offers motor warranty for mechanical and electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A reminder of the new roadworks have gone back in. I was almost going to call them new roadworks, but new delays on the R21 at Clayville. It's been running okay just recently, but lane closures in both north and south, just north of the Olifantsfontein exit. So if you're heading down to the airport, allow extra time. If you're driving out to Pretoria, there's a queue to work through as well. The Mike 1, Boyson's all the way through to 11th Avenue is pretty heavily backed up. Locally, we've got a crash on Jan Smuts bumpers, causing some delays between Hyde Park and Rosebank. Victory Park's heavy with some traffic lights out there around the Victory and Barry Herzog. Four ways a mess because hardly a traffic light working in four ways this morning. And the N1 between Brockfontein and New Road on your way through Midrand going south remains a heavily backed up option as well this morning. Durban's M13 still a bit slow coming into the M7 St John's Avenue Bridge. A truck has overturned there on that ramp from the M13 onto the M7, so that's where you got the additional pressures. Also crash on the M13 near the Shongweni Road, so if you're moving up into the N3 after Hillcrest exit, that M13 is literally standing. And then Cape Town, you've got big pressure around Strandfontein with the ongoing closure of Baden-Powell from Strandfontein through to Muizenberg. A lot of pressure on the alternatives. And if you're coming in from the Noordhoek side, a crash on Oudtshoorn Weg northbound towards Steenberg, causing quite a big delay up around that silver mine area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. It's cricket. The Proteas, they're confident ahead of the Bangladesh test despite no warm-up games. And in soccer, the Bafana captain Ronwen Williams shares his insights ahead of Bafana's AFCON qualifying clash tonight at 6 p.m. Details around 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
And it's just gone 8:10 on this Tuesday. Good morning, South Africa. This is the Morning Brief on SAFM. It's all the local and international news, current affairs, insights and opinions you need to lead the conversation today. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane and I'm here to deliver your Morning Brief. A number of conversations have been on the go in the last 2 hours or so, and we've come to, my favorite part of the day. This is when you and I do the intellectual tango. This is when we open the ideas refinery and have the conversations that move us here on SAFM. So I will be taking your calls on the number 086 000 2032. Also taking your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. What with all the issues that we've raised in the last few hours, from the issue around the ANC and the event that they held last night. Some are calling it a celebration of 100 days of the Government of National Unity. Others, the ANC itself, is saying that actually it's a moment of reflection on the first 100 days. I can take your calls on that, but also we've been reflecting on such issues as the issue of South Africans who become drug mules and the difficulties that they then run into at a later stage after having served their time in foreign prisons. That conversation did come up a bit earlier on the show. We did talk about South Africans serving in foreign military organizations and how that is prohibited by a raft of laws, including the constitution in our country, but the government telling us that it continues to be a phenomenon and it does happen, including in the current ongoing conflict in the Middle East. That's just a sampling of some of the issues. You can bring yours onto the table. The Ideas Refinery opening up. Let 100 schools of thought contend. This is SAFM, conversations that move us. The third hour of the Morning Brief starts now.
Night Talk with Oliver Dixon.
You and I have a country to build, difficult conversations to have, solutions to find, and stories to tell. Join me, Oliver Dixon, on Night Talk every Monday to Thursday from 10 p.m. to midnight.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Let me start with a call from Moses in Bramley. Good morning to you, Moses. You want to talk to me about Israel?
Yeah, man. Thulas, morning. How are you, my brother?
I'm very well. How are you, Moses?
I'm good. Yeah, man. This thing of Israel, it's unheard of just to bad the UN General Secretary.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, we never heard of such a thing. It looks like these guys that are becoming law unto themselves. They actually defies anyone because they've got the backing of the USA. And we cannot tolerate such things. And these guys that are still perpetuating a trajectory of killing people left, right, center without any fear or whatever. We cannot tolerate such a thing.
Yeah.
Whereby people, and people who support these guys saying, Israel, they've got a right of defending themselves. Yes, they've got a right of defending themselves, but they've been killing these people for many years. It was just this Hamas trying to actually react of the killings of so many years. So we are not justifying this that Hamas kill people, but you cannot kill 1,050 or 60,000 people in defense of defenseless people.
I hear you, Moses. And the point you make about the Secretary General of the UN being declared persona non grata, I must say, I've never heard of it. It may have happened. I don't know. I don't claim to know everything, but it certainly was a first. And I saw it when the Israeli Foreign Minister, Israel Katz, announced it on X and said, I've declared him a persona non grata. He's not allowed to set foot in Israel. So 104 countries plus the African Union pushing back on that and signing that statement. Let's bring in Bonagele in Mthatha. Good morning to you, Bonagele. You want to talk to me about Dr. John Hlophe?
In fact, Bonagele is in Khayelitsha.
In Khayelitsha. Good morning.
Not in Mthatha.
Yeah, you must confuse the enemy, as they say in political speak. You can be in Khayelitsha in Mthatha.
I always in Khayelitsha, my friend. I'll never mention Mthatha. I mean Khayelitsha, Western Cape. First of all, I would like to congratulate the appointment of Judge Bokwane to be the president of the High Court here in Western Cape. And the one that I want to talk about is what former Judge Hlophe said about that judiciary is captured. He's been a judge for the past 29 years. That's what he said. But he never said anything, or did he do anything regarding that? Are you really serious for someone to come and tell us, judiciary of this country is captured? And yet he was a judge for 29 years. He didn't do anything. For you yourself, do you believe him? Or is he saying something? I mean, come on.
So let me tell you. Let me tell you. I want to talk to the issue of judicial capture directly, in the sense that you and I understand capture. But one thing that you've got to give him credit for, he was, when he was a judge, a big champion of indigenous law and its prioritization. On paper, indigenous law is supposed to enjoy the same status as the common law, and in fact is supposed to be applied where it's applicable. But in practice, there's always been this grievance that says it continues to play second fiddle to the common law. He really did speak up for that, and he was a champion of that. And I understand that doesn't talk to the capture, the judicial capture that you want to address.
Exactly, that's my point. That is why I'm really shocked. I'm surprised for someone who was a judge to mention the name and to say judiciary is captured.
Yeah.
Being a judge, you're supposed to do something, don't you think so? Or because he was enjoying himself doing that. No, come on.
All right,
let's
leave it there. Bonagele in Khayelitsha. That's Bonagele. They're talking about Judge Hlophe. Let's bring in Mboneni in Ennerdale. Good morning to you, Mboneni. 100 days of the Government of National Unity. You want to talk about that?
Absolutely, and a very good morning to you, Thulas, and indeed you are loving the microphone. You are enjoying it. And thank you to producers for taking my call as usual, and good morning to listeners. Look, what the President of African National Congress has alluded on last night, it was very fascinating to keep us as members in the country to say how far he is. And he said some of the priorities that are there in the NGU are still ANC. In other ways, the policies that are there are still ANC policies. However, I was slightly not happy. I was very upset for the fact that he didn't make some comments just in passing about the behavior of the federal leader of DA, Helen Zille, because he is actually trying to control the ANC, and which we found out of context based on the fact that the statement of intent, it doesn't constitute that he had to follow most of the ANC issues as far as the issue of Honorable Banyaza is concerned and the issue of Charlie is concerned. So for me, the 100 years of the GNU... 100
days, not 100 years. He also made that mistake a few times. He said 100 years instead of 100 days. 100
days of the government of national unity, as he reflected, I think he's done very phenomenal, and I want to thank him and the NEC for coming forth and they explain what is going on. Thank you, Thulasizwe.
All right, you too. Let's leave it there. That's Mboneni in Ennerdale there, reflecting on 100 days as the slip of the tongue there. 100 years of the government of national unity, and the president of the ANC also did have that slip of the tongue and actually said it does feel like it's been 100 years. Let's speak to Voice of Africa in Bloemfontein. Good morning to you. You want to talk to me about Israel?
Good morning, my brother.
Yes.
Yes, I just want to understand. When Israel, they like to say Hamas is recognized by international community as a terrorist group. Which international community they talk about?
They point the finger at
Africa?
Iran. They point the finger at Iran specifically. They're saying groups like Hamas and Hezbollah are proxies sponsored and supported by Iran.
Yeah, but now they say even it is recognized by international community to say the terrorist group. Which international community that recognize them like those people? They are the freedom fighters of their continent. Because as us here, we fought for our country. We are being called a terrorist.
Yep.
And now back home here, okay, GNU. If our president come and say the GNU is a good plan, it came by planning to say, let's make this like this so that we can make GNU, or it came by accident so that they can form GNU. If they say GNU, it came with a plan. That means they plan it to make ANC to go down so that they can manage to form GNU, because GNU is needed by the politician to drag the economy down so that they can build something that can make them to tell the people that this is a good thing to bring the economy back.
All right, I hear you. I hear the point you are making. What they've been saying is that it is the voters that decided that there should be a government of national unity in the way that we voted and decided to not give any of the parties a clear majority. Katu in Midrand, you want to talk to me about 100 days of the government of national unity, or are you also going to call it 100 years?
No. They mentioned 100 days. You know what? For me, actually, it's the first time I'm on your show. I used to speak to Stephen. Congratulations.
Thank you for coming on board. Yeah.
And then now, for me, the thing is, what is the narrative? What are we really saying? Are we saying that the 30 years that the ANC has failed, we are making it up in 100 days? The reason I say this, there's nothing really different that is being done. If you look at the stunt of the prison where it was being raided, I know a lot of ex-con who said that happened almost all the time, almost every month, but it was televised. So I can say the GNU for me is more a media campaign, a propaganda to say, you know what, the ANC has lost power, and the truth of matter is we were so corrupt, we need oversight and other people to babysit us for government to function. That's what the GNU means for.
Sure, that's an interesting take there, Katu. And I do remember the discussions that took place that were about whether it is a government of national unity or an out-and-out coalition between 10 political parties. And Katu, they're saying that, they just don't want to admit that they've been forced to be babysat, that is the ANC, babysat by other political parties so that they do the right thing. Let me speak to Kanti in Cape Town. Good morning, Kanti. You want to talk to me about the appointment of, the recommendation that has been made by the Judicial Service Commission for the appointment of the new Judge President of the Western Cape Division. All right, we seem to have lost Kanti there on the line. Kanti wanted to talk to me about the recommendation that the JSC has made in terms of the appointment of the new Judge President in the Western Cape Division of the High Court. Let me see if I can take a quick voice note for you. Let's hear this person talking about the idea
Morning
of the
to us,
wealth tax.
Lukman, Cape Town. To us, this wealth tax, I don't buy it. I'm not... it doesn't faze me. You know why, Thulas? Because we don't have a tax problem. We already tax out of our ears. And, the wealthy also. But that's not the issue. The issue here is the abuse, the mismanagement, and the theft of our tax at the moment. They don't know how to work with money. But these politicians, this ANC has wasted all our taxes for how many years? They don't know how to work with it because incompetent people have been put into functions that doesn't even know how to work with money. So until we manage and we utilize the funds that we have at the moment optimally to the best for South Africans, then I will have further discussion with any other tax. But we need to use what we have at the moment, and they can't do it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's an interesting take there. The idea, as I understood it, as was argued by Thabani Khumalo, writing in the Sunday Times, is that this would be almost ring-fenced, almost like a reparation fund, and it would be a tax on the super rich. And he makes the interesting argument that not only, those who benefited from apartheid, but actually 10% of people that can be identified to have benefited since apartheid ended. Those would then fall within that category of the super rich, and then that would subsidize the 40% of the poorest in this country. It's an interesting conversation. Let me take one more voice note, and this one has to do with the Government of National Unity.
Morning, Thulasizwe. People must not mislead other people and come on to the radio and sing praises to the ANC for the successes, whatever, within the 100 days. This is a government of national unity. It's not the ANC. The policies of government of national unity are not only for the ANC, but for every participant in that government of national unity. If it was the policies of ANC alone, that bill would have been passed and signed, done with. But just because of GNU, they had to consult their partners. So it's not about the ANC here. ANC was leading 30 years ago. They failed. That's why they came about with this GNU. So we must not mislead each other here. It's not ANC. Normally from Brixton.
Interesting. The ANC president insists that ANC policies and the manifesto of the ANC will be implemented. I wonder what Helen Zille and others in the Government of National Unity will have to say about that, of course, because it did seem that there was going to be a pulling together of the various aspects of various manifestos. I highly doubt that every party in there will get 100% of what it wants. Let's stick with the theme and speak to Bond in Gqeberha. Good morning to you, Bond. You also want to talk to me about 100 days,
yes.
007.
Yes. Thank you very much, Thulas. This is a logical follow-up from the VN just now. I'm sorry to spoil the party, but this is 100 days reflection on the GNU. It is strange that not all the constituents of the GNU actually are reflecting together. You understand? They should all be there. Otherwise, their absence says a lot about the state of health of the GNU. You can't, when you're married, reflect on 1 year. It's only the proposer or the person that paid lobola who reflects on the 1 year of the marriage. both parties must reflect or celebrate. So I'm expecting all the parties, PAC, DAU, DA, to be reflecting and take the podium, reflect together.
But they are, though, Bond, separately. The DA also did its own reflections on the 100
to symbolize unity. They should have been there together to instill hope in us.
Yeah.
Napoleon once said, a leader is a dealer in hope, not a fractured hope. So we must have hope and see optics that count. They must be there together, take the podium to instill hope that this thing is still healthy, not separately.
All right, let's leave it there, Bond, weighing in on the reflections of the ANC on the 100 days of the Government of National Unity. Let me bring in Kanti, who wants to weigh in on the recommendation of the JSC for the new Judge President of the Western Cape Division. Good morning to you, Kanti.
Morning, Chulas, and how are you, sir?
Very well, how are you?
Good. Chulas, firstly, I'm happy that the recommendation has been made. I'm satisfied. I know the wealth of experience that Judge Bokwana is coming down with to this division. But my main concern, Chulas, as a person who was watching the interviews, there is something that really, really frustrated me in that all the judges of this division that were interviewed, they seem to agree that this division has a problem. And amongst others, the division amongst the judges themselves, the lack of etiquette among the judges themselves, and more concerning the issue of favoritism. And it was very clear that there's a lot of, lack of a better word to us, a rota in this division. And therefore, I would appreciate if the CJ, Justice Maya, can institute an investigation or a commission of some sort to investigate or to go to the bottom of the problem that seems to be rife in this division. That's what I want to suggest.
That sounds like a solid suggestion there from Kanti in Cape Town. And I did see that all the candidates were asked to reflect on the difficulties within that division. It doesn't sound like a bad idea at all. Let me bring in Mike in Middleburg. And Mike, you want to talk to me about the USA supporting Israel. Good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. Thank you for taking my call. You see, Thulas, as long as the Biden administration keeps on reiterating that their commitment for the security of Israel is ironclad, regardless of what Netanyahu is doing, then we are accelerating to hell, as sung by Chris Rea in his song titled The Road to Hell. You know, it doesn't matter whether Netanyahu is expanding to Lebanon, bombing indiscriminately, killing women and children as he's doing in Gaza. Each time there's a threat for retaliation from Iran or other countries, neighboring countries, Biden will speak loud to say our support for the security of Israel is ironclad. And Netanyahu means will continue to be arrogant. And this war, I'm telling you, will expand. We will never have world peace unless superpowers like China, Russia, and other progressive countries on the left begin to take a position. Otherwise, we must just forget about peace. Right. And this is what is well captured by the late great Peter Tosh in his song titled Vampire. America is a vampire.
All right. Thank you for that, Mike. Sobering thoughts there from Mike about the state of play and the situation in the Middle East and the role of the United States therein. And that brings us to 8:30. Let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged party members to use the GNU to advance its future electoral fortunes. He was addressing hundreds of party members at Luthuli House in Johannesburg on the achievements of the GNU after 100 days. The Judicial Service Commission has resolved to recommend Judge Nolwazima Bokwana for the position of Judge President of the Western Cape Division of the High Court to President Cyril Ramaphosa. And South Africa is part of a group of more than 100 UN member states that, along with the AU, has signed a statement that condemns Israel's decision to declare the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres as persona non grata. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The R21 towards the airport coming out of Pretoria just getting heavier. We've been detailing the fact that roadworks and lane closures are back on that section just north of Olifantsfontein Road at Clayville. They're on the airport-bound carriageway and the Pretoria-bound carriageway, and the delays are reasonably heavy, but it is of concern that southbound track is getting quite heavy. Staying with the R21, a crash coming up from Jet Park just before the airport exit, so up through Griffiths Road, that's quite slow. Plenty of traffic on the Mike 1 this morning. You'll sit Boyson's up in through Crown, and then it gets really heavy from Parktown all the way through to Sandton. Big crash on Jan Smuts at Dunkeld West, so between Rosebank and Hyde Park. There's some extra pressures getting along that section of Jan Smuts this morning. Durban bound, coming in from Pint or coming in from Kloof down the bottom of Fields Hill. As you come onto the M13, a truck is overturned on the off-ramp to the M7 St John's Avenue Bridge. So that section between Fields Hill and St John's Avenue, the M13, unusually busy as motorists try to sort of work out what they need to do in that area. Cape Town Baden-Powell closure at Khayelitsha and closure at Strandfontein. This is having a major impact on traffic flow locally. The whole Strandfontein area is very heavily backed up. Other motorists driving up into Mitchell's Plain, which is like a construction zone anyway these days, so there's extra pressures there. Lotus River, Grassy Park as you pop across and sort of get towards the M5 for reconnections down onto the South Peninsula. It's all very heavy. Just give yourself plenty of time to get through in a nutshell. The Koeberg Road coming inbound through the Brooklyn area is heavy, and traffic at this hour still all slow over Marine Drive. Sunset Beach is busy. Lagoon Beach is busy as you come in past Milnerton High School. That's probably going to be busy for a while. And then you've got your third queue backing up, even probably heavier than normal, through Pardon Island. There's plenty of traffic on that run through this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you once again, Zai. So let me get this straight. The Proteas have had 0 warm-up games ahead of playing Bangladesh, and they have not played Bangladesh in a test series in over 3 years, but nevertheless they remain quite confident.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
No practice matches whatsoever. I don't know if they're saving their big shots for the real game. We're going to have to find out because, skipping warm-up, maybe it will all heat up once they're in Bangladesh, in Dhaka.
Yeah.
And we have to take their word for it for now until we
That's all we have.
That's all we have. It's a lot of spin going on, that's for sure. Proteas confident. Coach Shukri Conrad defending their decision to skip warm-up games, opting for an intensive training camp in Pretoria. They've got 2 crucial tests in Bangladesh, and they want to improve their 5th place standings in the ICC Test Championship, making this tour key for their climb towards qualification for the final. Let's hear from Shukri Conrad.
If there's an unlikely event where lots of players been lost through weather, then I think that might be a way to go. Yes, I think teams will be a lot more aggressive in their outlook, and we'll certainly adopt something similar. If you're going to get 5 days of cricket, I don't think that might be the formula. So, I think the key word is in the unlikely event of a result, I think teams will be a lot more aggressive in their approach.
Now, tonight, Bafana face Congo-Brazzaville in a crucial Africa Cup of Nations qualifier, despite the absence of striker Lyle Foster, who scored in Friday's 5-0 demolition of Congo. Coach Hugo Bruges insists the team is fully motivated to secure their AFCON spot. Bruges expects Congo to come back stronger, seeking revenge after their heavy defeat, but he remains confident in his squad's preparations. Bafana captain Ronwen Williams shared how their detailed debrief and hard work corrected key areas, giving the team a good feeling ahead of this physical clash.
We've gained valuable experience over the last few years. We've been a group that's been together for 3 years now. So it's just for us to go out there and, do the best that we can do, fight, challenge, be determined in every duel, and make sure that we keep the fans quiet, because the fans can obviously give them energy, they can boost them. So for us, the first 30 minutes is going to be highly important. Hopefully we can get 1 goal so that can, keep the fans quiet.
And you can catch the action as the match kicks off at 6 p.m. tonight on SABC Sport. Cricket action, New Zealand booking their place in the semi-finals of the Women's T20 World Cup with a 54-run win over Pakistan in Dubai. Pakistan needed to chase their target of 111 within 10.4 overs to keep themselves in the knockout contention via the net run rate. But they paid the price for their aggressive intent, slumping to 56 all out in 11.4 overs. And finally, rugby, former star centre Sonny Bill Williams says the All Blacks must emulate the Springboks and employ their own bomb squad off the bench if they want to get back to dominating the rugby world. Williams says the All Blacks must fight power with power by putting an extra forward on the bench and sacrificing a backline player. The former popular player used the Boks and Ireland as examples in this regard. That's where we leave it on the rugby field. We'll have more sport for you on SFM around 12:30 with John Gericke. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's check in with Ndawling Lechela one more time for that business update. Ndawling, I don't follow these things as closely as you do, but my memory tells me that every time you read that the World Bank has reviewed South Africa's growth outlook, it's usually downward. But this time around, it is upward.
And that's right, Silas. And it comes, as you know, we've had improved sentiment on the country following the formation of the Government of National Unity. The World Bank revising its growth forecast for South Africa upwards, citing improved economic conditions and increased investor confidence. In its latest report, the World Bank predicts that South Africa's economy will grow by 1.8% this year, up from its previous forecast of 1.5%. The World Bank has noted the country's economic recovery is gaining momentum, driven by a rebound in the manufacturing and agri sectors. Additionally, the ongoing efforts to address structural bottlenecks such as energy constraints and transportation infrastructure are expected to support sustained growth. The World Bank's revised forecast is in line with other international organizations such as the IMF, which also predicts improved growth prospects for the country. South Africa's improved economic outlook is also reflected in recent market developments, including the strengthening currency and increased foreign investment. Despite the improved forecast, though, the World Bank cautions that South Africa still faces significant challenges, including high unemployment, and inequality. And to sustain the growth momentum, the report emphasizes the need for continued policy reforms, investment in human capital, and efforts to address the country's infrastructure deficit.
And it's quite a significant projection. You say 1.8%.
Yes.
Wow. Haven't seen that in a while.
A lot of 0.something% forecast. So it is something to be quite happy about, I guess.
Yeah, the state we are in, Dowling, you and I, is almost celebrating 1.8%, but we will take it under the circumstances. But who's not being upgraded upwards? It's Sanral, because they are struggling with this 28 billion rand debt as a result of unpaid e-tolls.
Mm-hmm, that's right, dealing with that massive 28.7 billion rand debt from unpaid e-tolls on the Gauteng freeway improvement project. Despite the e-toll system being scrapped earlier this year in April, Sanral and the Gauteng government maintain that motorists are still obligated to pay their outstanding debt, but recovery prospects look very slim to us, with Sanral collecting less than 300,000, 31% of that total debt. The agency hasn't given out traffic fines since March 2019, making it even harder to collect unpaid debt. The Gauteng government will take over maintenance and inspection of the 201 kilometers of tolled freeways, bridges and slopes costing at least 3 billion rand annually. Sanral will now return to its original mandate, planning, financing and maintaining the national road network. Sanral's financial standing is improving, though, with Minister of Finance, Gorongwana, approving a borrowing limit increase to 16.5 billion rand. The agency plans to spend about 37 billion rand in the next financial year, with 4.1 billion rand allocated for toll portfolio expenditures.
Mm-hmm. So with about 19 minutes to go before the start of trade at the JSE, what kind of a day can we look forward to, both here at home but also in other markets as well?
The local markets are poised to start the day in positive territory. We still have a few local results coming through. Traders will be waking up to tech company Bytes half-year earnings report. On the currency front, the rand trailing behind, trading above the 17.50 rand mark to the dollar. In Wall Street, futures are in the green following a record close yesterday. Traders are eyeing more earnings from banking stocks throughout the week. And over in Asia, trading quite mixed, with investors digesting China's stimulus measures.
All right, thank you for that. Ntauleng Lechela, always at hand with news, economic news at your fingertips that you can use, that you can relate to. Ntauleng with the last of our updates here on the Morning Brief today.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. With only 5 contestants left in the competition, the heat is on. This week, they must prepare a family feast with the help of a sous chef who also happens to be their parent. It's a big challenge, but the reward is even bigger. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the reed dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
Congo Brazzaville wants to ensure that AFCON bronze medalist South Africa gets nothing during their visit to Brazzaville. However, Southern Africans Bafana Bafana want to represent the region well by collecting maximum points. This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Experience the exciting journey to Morocco, Congo Brazzaville versus South Africa on Tuesday, 15 October at 6 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, let's bring you our Science of Life feature now. On Sunday, SpaceX launched its 5th Starship test flight from the U.S. state of Texas. The company was able to return the rocket booster back to land for the first time, in a controlled manner, achieving a novel recovery method involving large metal arms. SpaceX's last launch was in June and marked the first successful re-entry of the company's spacecraft into the atmosphere after 3 previous attempts. Let's bring into the conversation now Professor Leroto Di Leo, who is a professor of physics and astronomy at the University of the Western Cape. Good morning to you, Prof. Before we delve into reusability and its implications for space exploration, just your overall impressions of the launch by SpaceX.
Impressive, and of course the recovery even more impressive. And yeah, I was really excited. After Flight 4, they talked about being able to recover the booster, and I thought this is not going to happen. Catching such a massive thing in midair, it's not going to happen, and it did.
Yeah, and that's partly, and that's been, Prof, the focus of the intrigue and excitement about this. For those who don't know, the boosters are those, two large objects that in traditional spacecraft would be, they look like inflatable, dinges that sit side by side next to the actual launch vehicle. And they usually peel away after a few seconds of the mission having started. The fact that SpaceX was able to return the booster safely in a controlled manner back to the launch pad, that's what is being celebrated. Why is that?
So it means then these boosters can be reused, and that has cost implications. It has environmental implications. So you fly to space more in a more environmental friendly manner, and you can do so faster. So it's big implications. And as you're saying, those boosters are usually the much bigger part of a rocket because they carry most of your fuel that gets you off the ground. And so they are really, really massive and an important part of space flight.
How difficult would it have been for the scientists in there, and just imagining how tense it must have been, because according to reports, that booster needed to come back. And interestingly, we're talking about a booster instead of boosters, where, traditional spacecraft had two, but here we're talking about one. But nevertheless, the talk is about it coming from speeds of up to 27,350 kilometers per hour and coming back to land in a controlled manner and fit into those metal arms. How difficult a feat was that?
Yeah, this is quite an incredible feat. So just to put those numbers in more simple language, coming from supersonic speed, so speed faster than sound itself. And this was the booster in this case went to about 75 kilometers high, then came down. So, I mean, maybe to think of this in some practical way, we hear about people firing rockets here on Earth, like in terms of war and targeting particular, places for the rocket to hit, and this would be smaller rockets. And a lot of them will miss, not quite hit target. This is now a much, much bigger rocket, almost the size of a football field. That's how high it is. It's 75 meters tall. And you are bringing it back from this big height to come precisely to that location. And it's just an incredible feat.
And the implications of reusability, then, to focus on that, does that mean that you mentioned the issue of costs coming down? Would that open possibilities of even more space travel in the future?
Yeah, that's the big deal. This particular rocket is designed to be able to do missions to the moon and in the future to Mars. So it means being able to do it more cost-effectively. You'll know that the last missions to the moon were 50 years ago. The intention for the next moon missions is to be able to establish a base there, so be able to make more frequent trips and take more equipment there. So being able to reuse such a powerful booster means also being able to take a lot more cargo into space frequently.
Yeah. Lastly, Prof, while you mentioned traveling back to the moon, human beings being landing back on the moon, I think about 2 years ago, all the buzz was about the Artemis mission, and South Africa was to play a role among other countries, of course, in supporting that mission. Any idea where that stands at the moment? Is that still on track for 2025, or has it, as far as you know, has it been shifted out further?
The Artemis mission is still on track. So the next phase of the mission, as you say, will be early 2025 or late 2024. And I guess we are already late into 2024. And so there are already 4 crew members selected for that mission. The mission will just orbit about the moon this time, not land. And then the subsequent mission will do the landing.
All right. Thank you for those insights. I appreciate it. Professor Leroto de Leo, a professor of physics and astronomy at the University of the Western Cape.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very serious crash out in Mpumalanga. We've been telling you about this. It's the N4. It is east of Mbombela, out towards the Murrow Road, between Carino and the Murrow Road, if you like. Recovery of that scene underway, and there will be some delays and diversions. It looks like the road has been closed again. There were some stop-go controls earlier, but looks like a full closure. That's a very, very significant and serious accident that authorities are dealing with out there. So if you go between Malalan and Mbombela, expect to hit some alternative alternative routes for some time. I think a big mess to clear up. We have put a pic of that up, or various pictures of that on at the scene up on our X account, x.com @TrafficSA. You can have a look at that and understand why it's going to take a while to clear. The R21, we've been reminding you about the roadworks that have gone back in around the Clayville exit. The southbound side towards the airport seems to have eased, but the northbound side heading through to Pretoria stays busy. N1, Brockfontein down to New Road stays under pressure. N3, Edenvale to Beclue, very slow this morning. And that crash on Jan Smuts to Dunkeld West, still causing quite a backlog between Hyde Park and Rosebank, both directions. Durban, a reminder, if you're coming off Fields Hill in towards Pinetown, the M13 is slow. Truckers overturned on the off-ramp to the M7, and that's what's causing a lot of delay, a lot of confusion as well, I guess. You can't off-ramp there anymore. And Cape Town stays really busy this Tuesday. The N1 in from Plattekloof Hill. Traffic queuing again, as we saw yesterday, Marine Drive to Loxton Road. That's normally a synchronisation issue with the two lights there, and it can stay busy right through until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And Baden-Powell still closed because of thick sand, both at Monwabisi and between Strandfontein and Muizenberg. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
After an impressive run in their first 5 matches of the 2024-25 season, collecting 18 points each, both La Rochelle and Bordeaux-Bègles are pumped up with high energy and eagerness to elevate their winning mentality to the highest level. Witness the collision of two giants, the top 14 rugby contest between La Rochelle and Union Bordeaux-Bègles on Sunday, 20 October at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Bayern München are not just about singing their club anthem, Star of the South. They want to maintain their unbeaten run while their visitors, VfB Stuttgart, plan to live up to their slogan, fearless and loyal. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch the nail-biting clash between Bayern München and VfB Stuttgart this Saturday, 19 October at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, let 100 flowers bloom, let 100 schools of thought contend. The Ideas Refinery is open. Let's take some of your voice notes now and hear what's been exercising your mind. A lot of you talking about the ANC and the Government of National Unity.
Jumbo, Thulasizwe, good morning. It's Tlantla Zondia from Pietermaritzburg. The GNU rally, I don't know what the ANC was celebrating. It shows that they are no longer in touch with the people on the ground. If they knew the situation on the ground, they wouldn't be celebrating anything. The problem is that South Africa is not improving. Investor confidence doesn't mean improvement on the ground in terms of the material benefits on the ground for the people. So I don't know really what they're celebrating. Maybe they can explain better to us. They say it's a reflecting on what? We need deliver, and they need to deliver, not reflect on anything. Thank you.
I hear you, Nhlanhla. My sense of it was that it seemed to me, at least, to be an event that was directed more at the skeptics within the tripartite alliance, and I don't know whether to win them over or to perhaps emphasize that this was a decision of the highest decision-making body of the ANC between conferences and had nothing to do with one or two individuals, let alone factions within the ANC. Another voice note on the GNU.
Good morning. Of course we should celebrate the GNU. We're having some success. The economy is starting to grow and various departments like Home Affairs are doing extremely well. In fact, it's a bit like the Springbok rugby team, where competence is the only thing that applies when appointing people to the cabinet, where it's being done to a lesser degree than the winning Springbok rugby team. So forget about all of this history and the people that oppressed us, and it's absolute nonsense. Paul Stellenbosch.
All right, so you did hear a bit of that from the ANC president, that the ideological orientation of the people that make up the government should not matter. It should be about the extent to which it delivers the goods in as far as development is concerned. Let's change tack a bit and hear from someone who wants to talk about the Judicial Service Commission that has been busy with interviews for the last few days.
Morning, Thulasizwe Simelane. Look, man, I like the appointment of Judge Potwan. You know, it just puts there are people in the Western Cape that think certain positions are reserved only for them. You know, so I'm happy that at least Judge Klopp is replaced by someone other than them. Thank you very much.
All right, interesting take there. I did notice that Judge NP Mabindla Potwana is quite youthful. That was the first thing that struck me, and her energy altogether. And it would seem the interviewing panel were just absolutely impressed with her. Now the real work begins, of course, given the problems that have beset that division of the High Court. Lastly, let me take this voice note about education budget cuts, a huge issue that we've been grappling with recently.
Morning, Tulas and your team. Nice show, Mfanageti. Tulas 100 days in office of GNU has been really a bad one. I mean, dropping the treasury, cut the budget so that teachers will lose their job. Education system, you see, they attacked the education system, and it's black people who will suffer mostly there. Those teachers will be taken out of jobs, and their children will have no teachers to be taught by. So 100 days, first 100 days in office of Ramaphosa as in GNU party has been really a disgrace, because it attacks the education system, something very important in each and every country. So they are a disgrace. It's quite strange that teachers' union are silent on that. It's so strange.
All right, thank you for those. And that issue is, of course, of huge concern, and that's an understatement. Budget cuts that affect the delivery of education. But we've got to leave it there. That's how we come to the end of today's edition of The Morning Brief. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana is up next here on SAFM. Thank you for listening. The news coming up in a moment. Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
In our top stories, Ramaphosa urges party members to use GNU to advance ANC's future, and Justice Mabindla Potwana recommended for Western Cape Judge President position. Good morning. The ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged party members to use the GNU to advance its future electoral fortunes. He was addressing hundreds of party members at Luthuli House in Johannesburg on the achievements of the GNU after 100 days. Only alliance partner Sankara attended. COSATU and the SACP staged a boycott. Ramaphosa says ANC members should see the GNU as an opportunity to strengthen the party and ensure it once again appeals to people of South Africa.
Comrades, this is a moment that we should use to increase the standing of the ANC. This is the moment that we should use to ensure that the ANC continues to lead society. The people of South Africa still love the African National Congress. We should use this moment of the Government of National Unity to strengthen the African National Congress, to rebuild our branches from the bottom, so that the African National Congress ibuyele kulesiya situlo sayo sokuphatha lelizwe.
The Judicial Service Commission has resolved to recommend Judge Nolwazi Mabindla-Boqwana for the position of Judge President of the Western Cape Division of the High Court to President Cyril Ramaphosa. She was appointed to the bench in 2013 and currently serves as a justice in the Supreme Court of Appeal. The JSC conducted marathon interviews that took over 12 hours, with Chief Justice Mandisa Maya highlighting the necessity for thorough engagements with candidates due to the state of the division. Maya probed Mabindla-Boqwana on her use of isiXhosa to pen an additional version of an appellate court judgment. She emphasized the need to recognize all languages in the country's courts.
There should be recognition that all 11 languages are constitutionally recognized and entrenched, and promotion of language is important. So I would definitely inculcate that and encourage us as much as possible to make sure that we write judgments in the language that people understand. And maybe not just judgment writing. Proceedings in courts could happen in the language of the people that are there if all speak the same language. But I understand the issue of cost because of the translations that have to be done for purposes of an appeal and all that kind of thing. But
a 45-year-old man will appear at the Lusikisiki Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape for a formal bail application today in connection with the murder of 18 people at Ngobazana village last month. A high-level police intelligence investigation led to the arrest of the parolee. An automatic rifle was allegedly also confiscated from him. The 18 people, including 15 women, were murdered on the eve of a cleansing ceremony. Social and gender activists are expected to join the community that will be picketing outside the court, calling for justice and no bail for the suspect. The Secretary of the Free State Legislature, Joseph Machaka, has filed an urgent application at the Free State High Court over alleged unfair suspension, arguing proper procedures were not followed. The case is expected in court this week. Refilwe Mekwa reports.
It is alleged that the Deputy Speaker of the Free State Legislature, Nolita Ndungane, suspended Secretary Joseph Machaka. According to reports, Machaka had to be escorted by security from the legislature building. It is still unclear what led to his suspension and how long has it been. The Free State Legislature promised to respond on the matter. Machaka has opted for the legal route, and the case is expected to sit in the Free State High Court in Bloemfontein on Wednesday. Refilo Mekwa, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
And finally, South Africa is part of a group of more than 100 UN member states that, along with the African Union, has signed a statement that condemns Israel's decision to declare UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres as persona non grata. The position was initiated by Chile after Israel accused Guterres of failing to condemn Iran. These nations expressed what they call a deep concern and condemnation of Israel's actions. Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamula, said supporting Guterres was important.
It is important that the work of the Secretary General of the United Nations goes on unhindered by anyone in the planet, in particular member states of the United Nations. He must be able to go anywhere. He must be able to do his job without any fear of any form of hindrance, whether through being declared persona non grata, being allowed access to various countries. So we see this as very important as a threat to the work of the United Nations itself.
Recapping the top story, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa urged party members to use the GNU to advance its future electoral fortunes. He was addressing hundreds of party members at Luthuli House in Johannesburg on the achievements of the GNU after 100 days. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by our Insurance Essential. Get a quote today. SMS car to 43187.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Myths versus facts. I'm too young to get breast cancer. Many women under age 40 are diagnosed with breast cancer. Men can't get breast cancer. 1 in 922 men have a lifetime risk of breast cancer. I have never had children and can therefore not get breast cancer. Women who haven't had children or only had them after 30 have an increased risk of breast cancer. Breast Cancer Awareness Month on SAFM.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Our Insurance Essential is unlike any other car insurance product. It's specifically designed and priced for older cars with the essentials you need. Get up to 1 million rand liability cover. That means if you cause an accident, the other car could be covered for up to 1 million rand, and claims are paid out in cash so you can go to your own panel beater. Get saving with our Insurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS car to 43187. That's car to 43187 today. Our Insurance is a licensed insurer and FSP, T's and C's, and information online.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
I landed from the U.S., and as I walked through the airport, I was perplexed by these signs and arrows labeled in this language I was yet to learn. The signs were labeled phrases like "wanafikia," arrivals, and "madai ya mzigo," luggage claim. I was frightened, the fact that each combination of vowels and letters were gibberish to me. As a result of all of my experiences with Kikuyu, my vernacular, being with my grandparents or the elderly members of my family, I was of the idea that this language was meant for the older generation. And this is still a mindset that many of us youth still have today, hindering us from learning our mother tongues. I would like to put it to you that there are so many benefits of learning your mother tongue. There is a quote that states, "Language is culture, and culture is language." Language is the system of communication used by a particular country or culture. And when we were able to use our vernacular languages, we will be able to build bonds within our culture. Language is the roadmap of a culture. It shows us where its people have come from and where they are going, says Rita Mae Brown. Without language, it is completely and utterly impossible for an individual to fully understand and connect with one's culture. Why can't we perfect our vernaculars and our English? I ask this because I know that English is the global language of trade and it is impossible to throw away. Why do we look at those who are fluent in their mother tongues but struggle in English as though they are of lesser intelligence than us? Fluent only in a language which has nothing to do with our ancestral heritage. I overheard a woman speaking with her children in Kikuyu. I wanted to know why she took it upon herself to invest in her children a culture which many of us do not. She said that your mother tongue is not something to be learned. It is a way of life. She was saying that we need to indulge ourselves in our mother tongues and in our cultures, breaking down the walls of unfamiliarity built by societal changes. To our parents, take it upon yourself to introduce your children to their culture, developing in them a pride for this part of their identity. And to us, we cannot let this pass us by. Beginning the journey is the hardest part, but in the end, it is worth it. Neda Shokyagado.
My name's Michael Fontaine. I'm 16. I have difficulty paying attention in class, so I fell behind. That's why my parents moved me to UCT Online High School. I can't thank them enough. Their flexible learning means I can take classes when it suits me, so I get ahead and stay ahead. Visit uctonlinehighschool.com to learn more. Applications close 29 November 2024.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The Red Devils are well aware that the only way to find the path to the top is to ensure they triumph against Brentford.
So close from Casemiro.
However, the visitors are confident that the Bees will be all over at Old Trafford.
West Ham struggling to get out of Bumo. They've done it again! Another goal inside the opening minute. How do they keep doing it?
This is the Premier League. Do not miss out on thrilling action between Manchester United FC and Brentford FC on Saturday, 19 October at 3:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
In 1983, a coup d'etat took place in a small West African country called the Republic of Upper Volta, a landlocked, poverty-stricken French colony surrounded by Mali, Niger, Ivory Coast, and Benin, to name a few. The end of that coup, which ousted Jean-Baptiste Ouedraogo, saw a young soldier, Thomas Sankara, come into power. Born Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara in 1949, at 33 years old, Sankara became the president of Upper Volta. From the onset, he was determined to turn around the fortunes of his people by changing the way they saw themselves. In his first anniversary in office, he renamed the country Burkina Faso, meaning Land of the Upright People, or Land of the Incorruptible. One of the changes he introduced was cutting spending for cabinet ministers, downgrading their cars from German machines to the cheapest car available in the country at the time, a Renault 5. He also demanded that all ministers fly economy class instead of business class or first class, saying whether you are on first class or economy, the flight takes off and lands at the same time. Sankara did not waste time in his efforts to show that his government was a people-centered one by putting in place measures seen as groundbreaking at the time. During those 4 years of Sankara's rule, Burkina Faso saw the biggest immunization drive, a massive-scale tree planting initiative, a ban on female genitalia mutilation, and many initiatives that helped portray Sankara as a champion of the poor. He distributed land from traditional leaders to the ordinary Burkinabe. He did away with disallowing pregnant teenagers from attending school, saying, "These girls do not impregnate themselves. So if we say they must stay away from school as punishment, punishment for what? They didn't impregnate themselves. Why punish them and allow the boys that put them in this unfortunate position to go on with life as if nothing happened? Amongst other things, his government also banned forced marriages and polygamy. He is also known for encouraging Africa to consume what they produce, terming one of his most famous quotes, "He who feeds you controls you." Sankara's dream went beyond the borders of Burkina Faso. His charisma and determination to change the life of his people reached its climax during a speech he delivered at the African Union Organization in Addis Ababa in 1987.
Faisons en sorte également que le marché africain soit le marché des Africains. Produire en Afrique, transformer en Afrique et consommer en Afrique.
Sankara's presidency was not without criticism. Western organizations like Oxfam reported human rights violations during his tenure. Amongst these violations was the arrest of union leaders in 1987, and a number of individuals who were part of the previous regime were executed after a brief treason trial. In 1987, 2,500 teachers are said to have been fired after a wage strike. In a plot twist, Sankara was killed in a coup d'etat, allegedly by his close friend Blaise Compaoré, the same Compaoré who conducted a coup in 1983 that saw Sankara come into power. After his assassination, when his house was raided, they only found 4 bicycles, a car, 3 guitars, and a refrigerator, proof that Sankara was one of a kind, a true artist, a revolutionary, a man of the people, but most importantly, leader of the upright people.
Well, should I ask you to guess the day 37 years ago in terms of what happened? This is, of course, the 37th year after the day in which Thomas Sankara was assassinated by troops led by Blaise Compaoré He was later charged, this is Kamparo was later charged in 2022 for his assassination. And the story there that you heard was by Dinilo Hlanga Mekutu, and the song Thomas Sankara by Nahawa Dowimbia, who is a Malayan singer. And yeah, interesting for us to sort of start with that, right? When you think about the visionary leadership that somebody like Sankara had for his country, for the continent, and also able to put sort of the right or the policy in place in a way that would uplift the country. We're so used to excesses in our society today, especially by those who hold high office, that even the idea of politicians driving among the cheapest cars is a foreign idea, right? Some parties gain political mileage by saying that they're going to fly economy, and yet he made it standard practice for those in his cabinet. So certainly some lessons to learn and lots for us to reflect on the open line. Of course, I will be taking your calls. It is the open line, so your opportunity then to call through to the station and put whatever matter you want to discuss on the National Roundtable. I know lots of you will also want to reflect on that 100 days of the Government of National Unity that had the tripartite alliance partners AWOL. They boycotted, nowhere to be found. And one just wonders, right? With such a deep sense of contentment among the alliance partners, and I know there have been many moments in history where it feels that the tripartite alliance has been on the brink. On the brink of what? I don't know, maybe on the brink of a breakup. We've certainly felt that there were those moments before where even the parties, whether it's the trade union, COSATU, or the SACP, have discussed and even planned around going to elections by themselves. So there are high levels of discontent, which is why they boycotted yesterday. But I just wonder, what is keeping this alliance together? If you have so many people inside it that are so unhappy, why do they not just leave? What is keeping the tripartite alliance together right now, given the exceptionally high levels of discontent and what feels like a move ideologically far away from each other? All of that happens as you would have seen the Deputy President come to the defense of Banyaza Lesufi. So there are all of these tensions within. But if people are unhappy, why don't they just leave the alliance? Why does the alliance still matter? What role does it still play today? I'll be happy to take your calls on that particular issue. And of course, you can call in. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. It's Tuesday, so we're talking finance with Brian Hirsch at 10 o'clock. And then in the final hour of the show, we're going to be in conversation with the Acting Director General for the Department of Employment and Labour. We'll be getting an update on the employment initiatives for young people that were promised and included in the budget, but have not yet started. We've got a number of organizations representing young people that have written, whether to the Department of Basic Education, whether to the Department of Labor. They say to date they've had little communication about whether or not the employment initiatives that were geared at alleviating unemployment for young people, whether those are still going ahead and when the money for those projects is going to be dispersed. So the DG for the Department of Employment and Labour will join us in the final hour of the show. Do tune in to that particular conversation. All right, I'll be taking your calls shortly, your WhatsApp voice notes, and of course, you are more than welcome. In fact, you are invited to be part of the conversation.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, let me begin in Mankweng. Sekhatli, good morning.
Good morning, Christian. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Sekhatli, who did you have to bribe to be number one on the list today?
The beautiful lady behind the mic.
It certainly wasn't me. Good morning, Sekhatli.
Yes. Thanks for taking my call. Number one, let me just first start by saying good luck to all the Nigerians who will be sitting down. My point today, I'm so angry. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay. I'm so angry. It's quite a long time when we did not qualify for Africa Cup of Nations. And when things are okay, we're looking at Bafana Bafana, they're playing very beautiful football. But we nearly been penalized. We nearly withdrawn Bafana Bafana from the competition after the carelessness of the supporters. Number two, the South African police services, which were on the pitch, the fidelity members of security members who came to not to do the job, but to come and watch the match. And then they did not even see the people coming. And then that we were just so lucky. We should have been penalized for that. So please, that must not gonna happen. We are asking for SAFA. You need to find the fidelity. You need to deal with those young supporters who just jumped the pitch. And again, those kind of games must not be given the pitch like that one in Gqeberha. We know that we're supposed to be like taking Bafana everywhere, but that pitch is not having security at its own. We understand how important that match was. So we're supposed to be taking that match straight to where the security is. We understand exactly the significance of that match to us. We couldn't see the Bafana playing in Africa Cup of Nations for some time.
You know, Sekhatli, I was listening to the sports show last night, and there was quite a lot of disappointment being expressed, especially by our listeners too, around just the what word am I looking for? Just the casual way in which that pitch invasion was handled. You know, a lot of people felt that it just was not given the right kind of attention, especially in the moment. Yeah.
Correct, ma'am. Then we understand. I do. You remember, I was angry the last time when I said, no, this was Bafana is for out and what. But at least when I'm looking at Peter Mokaba is having the security. When I'm looking at the other stadium in Bombela, it's having the security. The stadium itself, it's okay. But you can't just take the Bafana with that crucial match and like Congo today as we're going to play, and you think of bringing the match at Oscar Mbeta Stadium in the University of Limpopo. You know, everybody will just jump and at any way. You understand?
Yeah. All right, Sekhatli, let's leave it there. Thanks for the call. Lester, you're in Bloom. Good morning.
Morning, Kathy. How are you?
Yes, I'm well, thank you, Lester.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. My opinion would be regarding this tripartite alliance, Kathy. Is, what I fail to understand is they keep on instigating people to go on marches and disrupt the economy, and they themselves don't do anything to create jobs for the people that is unemployed. The people that is creating jobs in this country, the president now will then go out of the country to go and look for people to invest in our country. And now, I'm thinking to myself, why would I invest in a country whereby anytime there's people like a tripartite alliance that just feel like people should go on strike, they should demand a salary, I mean, there's no jobs in this country. And I'm sure that the world would like to invest in this country. But because of this, yes?
Lester, do you feel that the protests in this country still have the kind of impact that they would have a couple of years ago? In fact, I'm going to just put you on pause, give you a chance to think about that. We'll take the headlines. I'm back with Lester and more for your calls.
Good morning. In the headlines, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Hwahube says the country will have to look into introducing digital ways of administering matric examinations. She was responding to a question on whether the department is ready for the National Senior Certificate examinations. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged party members to use the GNU to advance its future electoral fortunes. He was addressing hundreds of party members at Lutuli House in Johannesburg on the achievements of the GNU after 100 days. And South Africa is part of a group of more than 100 UN member states that, along with the AU, has signed a statement that condemns Israel's decision to declare UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres as persona non grata. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
Real savings, real benefits. Here's what real clients say about OUTsurance.
My name is Alan. I'm 71 years of age and I live in Douglasdale. I'm paying 554 Rand a month for my 2022 Nissan Magnite.
Want a car insurance premium that'll blow your mind? SMS out to 30754 now for a quick quote. That's out to 30754. It's quick, it's easy, and it could save you hundreds of rands every month. OUTsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The Wild Beasts are searching for a massive win against Morocco, but the Atlas Lions want to demonstrate that they are ready to host the Africa Cup of Nations. This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Experience the spectacular journey to AFCON 2025. Central African Republic versus Morocco on Tuesday, 15 October at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Your older car also has needs. OUTsurance Essential is specifically designed for the needs of older cars. With OUTsurance Essential, you get up to 1 million Rand liability cover. That means if you cause an accident, the other car you bumped into could be covered for up to 1 million Rand. Enjoy this and loads more great benefits at a low price. Get saving with OUTsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS car to 43187. That's car to 43187 today. OUTsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, we continue the conversation on the open line. Before we went to news, Lester was on the line speaking about the tripartite alliance. And Lester, the question I asked you was around the impact of the strikes, protests that are held, especially whether you think those still have an impact. And I'm talking now from a COSATU perspective, from an SACP perspective. I don't know if you've realized, but in the last 18 to 24 months, you have a handful of people that gather for those protests that they hold.
Yes, and I've realized that, Kathy. I've realized that. But my concern is the COSATUs and the SACP people. The other day, there was a gentleman from the SACP wanting a flat salary across the board for all workers. And I mean now, the economy is not what it's supposed to be because we are divided. And COSATU and SAC people, they're still bitter. And there's no need. We need to embrace each other. We need to go out there and create jobs, invite the world, show the world that, there's no more black and white. We are South Africans. We must embrace each other. Our children is unemployed. I mean, we're still waiting for the Zondo Commission report. There's people that've been implicated there. They sit with billions and millions of money in this country. If those people can bring that money out, or if the Zondo Commission can prosecute those people, take that money, or take their assets, sell these assets to create jobs for the unemployed. What is happening to that money? What are these people going to do with all that money? Are they going to take it with them to heaven? We need that money in this country. I can be arrested now for something that I did wrong. I will be arrested before the sun sets. But how much money was spent on the Zondo Commission? These findings were found, but nothing happened. It's happening. Nothing. Let that money come. That money should create jobs. People become billionaires in no time in this country. Billionaires overnight. Why don't those people create jobs? Why don't they invest that money into this country? What are they doing with that money?
Okay, Lester, you've made your point. Lester out in Bloemfontein. We'll leave it there for this morning. Majoro, you're in Lady Brandt. Good morning, Majoro.
Yes, I am in Lady Brandt. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, but I don't know how to put it. You see, towards elections, you were pro the demise of the ANC in elections. And indeed,
Majoro, pro the demise of the ANC. Jeez, those are very harsh. That's a very harsh statement, Majoro.
You were so jubilant after we came short of the required numbers to govern. Now here you are again promoting the demise again of the tripartite alliance.
No, Majoro, there's no such thing. There's no such thing.
Let me have my time also. You had a time telling that why people can't live when they are not happy. You have no authority to suggest that to the African National Congress or to the alliance. In a relationship, the people always...
To suggest that what? Please repeat that. I didn't hear you clearly there, Majoro.
If people are not happy, why they can't leave? That's what.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And that doesn't mean the SSCP is not happy. The SSCP has its own opinion about this coalition that we have with the TA. It is their opinion. We must be listened to. It's how our culture has been in the African National Congress. That we must always disagree when we disagree, but ultimately find a common ground. That this is our common ground. But being disagreeing does not necessarily mean we have to separate. We are just in a disagreement of a particular issue that we are in disagreement of. Does not necessarily mean we have to part ways with each other. The alliance is there to stay. We were not there when it was formed, and we were not there when it was formed. You will still leave it there as it is, as in text, as it is. We will continue within the alliance to disagree on certain issues that are not, for instance, a GNU government is not a political ANC. So you can't accuse a SCCP for disagreeing with GNU because it is not our policy. We can't say you disagree with us. It does not, because GNU is not our policy. It has nothing to do with the policy. At no conference resolution or political conference did we ever adopt something that is called GNU or coalition. Not at all. The recent one, not at all.
So Majoro,
yes.
Well, one of the questions I asked when I started off was, what is keeping the alliance together? And as somebody who sounds like, you are a card-carrying member of the ANC, perhaps you can help us understand. Because there is a lot of dissatisfaction, but what's actually keeping the alliance together today?
You see, when you interpret it from your own perspective, you would find within the lines that no, it is kept by agreement. Not kept by agreement. Our alliance is kept by blood. We lost together. We lost people, comrades who were killed. So our alliance is not just a mere black and white written alliance. It's a blood alliance. So this, as a result, it cannot be defined by any court, by anything. It is defined by the relationship of a blood that we shared during the armed struggles, during the days when we were in Lesotho, during the days when we were in Botswana. Those attacks that were done in both countries, in Mozambique, by the apparent government, most people who died, they were both from the SACP and the ANC. So our alliance is not defined by a prescript somewhere that you'll find the shell somewhere. It is a blood alliance. Therefore, it will be there forever. For as long as there's SACP, there's COSATU, there's ANC. The alliance will still will come and go and leave the city.
So basically then, breaking up is not even an option. That's not one of the things that arises in the midst of disagreement, Majoro?
It's not going to. We have been here before. Remember, at some stage, if you remember, the fact that we had the real GNU government was proposed by Comrade Oslo. Maybe you're not there. And people who opposed it, Comrade Paulo Jordan, opposed it by saying power cannot be shared. I use the phrase, cannot be shared like basket of oranges. But then Comrade Oslo came up with a proposal of forming a GNU government. It's not the initial party, it's the Communist Party that came up with an idea of a GNU that tabled before the that the option that we can go through, it is this GNU, the real one, not this one that we're in now. It's because it was informed by particular characters, that because the society was divided, you had white and black on the other side, and then there was also violence among the black people. So you need to find some sort of a glue that brings people together. The only thing that you can find is that the majority party, other than that everybody is on board is something else.
All right.
Yes.
Majoro, I've really enjoyed your perspective on the air this morning. Thank you for calling in.
You're welcome.
All right, Majoro out in Ladybrand. He says it is an alliance of blood. Therefore, it's not an option, the idea of the parties walking away from each other, regardless of how dissatisfied they might be, does not even arise. Do you agree with that view? Charlie, you're in Koffiefontein. Good morning.
Good morning, Kathy. Yeah, man. I'm saying, I don't know if you are aware that there is a deal to sell 20% of the Springboks stake to an American company named ASG, Ackley Sports Group. Yeah. Now, number one, the Springboks are a national asset. I don't know why in the world would SARU even think of doing this. If they are so desperate for money, why is it that they don't include the PIC? Secondly, these people are going to buy a 20% stake, which is worth 75 million or 1.3 billion. Nah? They are going to buy a 20% stake of the Springboks commercial rights. When they have done that, SARU has a 7-member board. These people, ASG, the American company, with their 20% stake,
yes,
they are going to get. Remember, SARU they've got 7 seats. They are going to get 3 seats with the 20%. And also, they are also going to appoint the chairman, which is going to be the 4th member, which is obviously going to fall into their favor. So basically means that this company now will have 4 seats within SARU with their 20% stake, which perplexes me. These people, they will oversee everything, whether it's sponsorships, whether it's broadcasting, whether it's branding, whether it's events, whether it's licensing, everything. So basically meaning that the SABC will have to get permission from them to air the Springboks game.
Yeah.
As it already is, the tickets are already expensive, those Springboks. If they feel that they inflate the prices because they want to make a profit, there's nothing, no one's going to, because they have SARU, I don't know, because they have the 20% stake, but they're going to get 4 seats.
Look, you know, Charlie, I think that for me, right, if we're to look at the silver lining is that the Springboks have become a really bankable entity, right? Which is why then, they're catching the eye